The king of assassins, Shadow, renowned globally, a name that struck terror into the hearts of all who heard it, actually died in a random traffic accident. Talk about an anticlimactic exit. But when I opened my eyes again, I had transformed into the useless young master of a super elite, ultra-wealthy family. I was lying on a lavish king-sized bed in a 5-star hotel. Next to me was a currently trending actress, her clothes deliberately disheveled. The very next second the police kicked the door open, camera flashes blinding me like a strobe light at a cheap rave. "Arthur Vance! You are under arrest on suspicion of felony assault." Facing this low-budget conspiracy, the corner of my mouth twitched into a cold smirk. "Do you clowns really think throwing me in jail means you can tear me apart? Little do you know, the sleeping lion has quietly awakened. Starting from this very prison, I will drag the mastermind out by their collar step by step. This entire city of Metro will soon tremble at my name. I, Darkwing, was once the world's #1 shadow operative, yet a bizarre car crash abruptly ended my legend. The next second I woke up. Turns out I had reincarnated. Opening my eyes to the glare of a crystal chandelier, I felt the ridiculously soft mattress beneath me. However, this new body was so weak I could barely twitch a finger. Just then, a violent flood of memories smashed into my brain. I had been reborn as Arthur Vance, the #1 spoiled brat of Metro City, arrogant, overbearing, and only good at partying. But his family background? It was enough to make anyone green with envy. His father, General Maximus Vance, is the supreme commander of the Eastern Military District, holding 1,000,000 troops in his grasp. His mother, Victoria Vance, is the chairman of the Zenith Corporation, the wealthiest woman in the empire. His older sister, Luna Vance, is an international superstar with billions of fans. Even more terrifying are his two uncles. One lords over the southern borders, the other rules the western frontiers. Both are absolute warlords. And his grandfather? The only living founding father of the empire. If he stomps his foot, the whole nation shakes 3 times. Holy jackpot. This is the ultimate winning hand. But the original owner of this body was an irredeemable piece of trash. What's worse, my trained senses immediately noticed something was wrong. There wasn't just alcohol and party favors in my system. There was a specific, heavy-duty paralytic drug. This wasn't an accident. Some idiot deliberately set me up. My gaze instantly turned glacial. The assassin's instincts fully awakened. Who did it? Brad Stursling, the jealous new money heir? Or some rising star whose spotlight Arthur stole? While my brain was running at lightning speed, the blanket next to me rustled softly. I slowly turned my head. A woman with a stunning figure was huddled under the covers, her pale shoulders covered in suggestive marks, her eyelashes fluttered. She was about to wake up. In my previous world of shadows, women and wine were the same, just entertainment or sometimes lethal weapons. And this woman right in front of me was the very knife someone was thrusting into my back. My mind instantly mapped out the upcoming script. She screams, cries that I assaulted her. Reporters rush in, snap photos, and a seamless frame-up is complete. The Vance family's reputation goes down the drain. Too bad for them, the Arthur Vance sitting here now wasn't the idiot from yesterday. Speak of the devil. The woman on the bed, Stella Fox, slowly opened her eyes. Seeing me, she feigned shock, then seamlessly transitioned into a well-rehearsed look of absolute terror. She opened her mouth, ready to unleash a scream that could shatter glass. But the exact millisecond she tried to scream, a hand clamped over her mouth with lightning speed. Stella's pupils shrank. She locked eyes with me. My gaze was cold, indifferent, like an abyss ready to swallow all creation. Is this really the stupid Vance heir? I slowly leaned in, a bloodthirsty smile tugging at my lips, and whispered, "Hold that scream. If you make a single sound, you and your entire family are finished. Think carefully before you squeal. I'll give you 3 seconds." As soon as I finished, I let go. Stella's entire body went stiff, the scream dying in her throat. But right at that critical moment, bang! The room door was kicked open from the outside. A swarm of reporters and police officers flooded in like a tidal wave, camera flashes going off like a thunderstorm. Seeing her saviors, Stella's acting instincts overpowered her fear. She sprang up, pulled the blanket over herself, pointed at me, and shrieked with all her might, "Help! He assaulted me!" That scream was the fuse. The room exploded. Click, 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 click. Reporters lunged at me. "Mr. Vance, is this accusation true? Do you have anything to say?" A chaotic barrage of questions tried to push me off a cliff. Amidst the chaos, a crisp, cold female voice rang out. "Step aside. Police business." The crowd parted. A female officer in uniform, her face beautiful but sharp as ice, walked in. It was Detective Chloe Frost, captain of the Major Crimes Unit. Her eyes swept over the massive bed, taking in the crying Stella and my half-dressed self. Disgust flashed in her eyes. This infamous trash of the Empire again. Chloe held up her badge, her voice devoid of warmth. "Arthur Vance, we received a report suspecting you of felony assault. Get dressed and come with us to the station immediately." Her words echoed clearly through the reporters' microphones. The scene erupted again. The title of Metro City's top playboy was officially ruined. Arrested publicly for assaulting a trending starlet? This was the hottest news of the decade. For the next month, every camera lens would be locked onto me, desperately trying to capture even a hint of panic on my face. Too bad they were going to be disappointed. Facing a situation that would cause social death for anyone else, my face remained as calm as a placid lake. It was as if this grand play had absolutely nothing to do with me. I slowly grabbed the bedsheet, wrapped it around my waist, and finally lifted my eyelids to truly look at the female cop at the door. My eyes were terrifyingly calm. My brain was analyzing everything at maximum capacity. Out of these reporters, who came for the scoop and who are the planted pawns? Who is here for justice and who is here for the circus? Especially this cop. The timing is too perfect, too deliberate. Finally, my gaze locked onto the sobbing Stella. Her acting could genuinely teach a masterclass at the film academy. Shame, her body language is stiff, unnatural. The genuine fear deep in her eyes completely sold her out. What a sloppy, loophole-filled performance. A mocking smile slowly crept onto my lips. That single smile made everyone present freeze. What is he smiling at? His life is on fire and he's smiling? Chloe's face turned glacial. She hated arrogant rich kids who abused their power more than anything. She barked, "What are you laughing at, Arthur? Get dressed and come with us." I couldn't be bothered to care. I slowly got out of bed, completely ignoring the countless lenses. My elegant, unhurried demeanor was as if I were strolling through my own backyard garden. This deep-seated grace was completely at odds with my playboy reputation. I slowly put on my pants, turned to Chloe, and spread my hands. "Let's go, officer." I even tilted my chin, glancing at the handcuffs on her belt. "Do we need those accessories?" My light-hearted tone thoroughly ignited Chloe's anger. She ordered, "Cuff him, take him away." Click. The cold metal locked around my wrists. The reporters went crazy again, snapping away at this historic moment. 2 officers flanked me, frog marching me out. But as I passed the edge of the bed where Stella sat, my footsteps abruptly stopped. The officer behind me shoved me hard, growling, "Keep moving." I acted like I didn't hear him. I tilted my head slightly, leaning forward under the barrage of flashes. My lips were almost touching Stella's ear. I used a voice only the 2 of us could hear, whispering like a demon. "Your scream was slightly better than your acting." Police sirens tore through the metro city night. Inside the cruiser, 2 cops in the front were whispering about the back seat. "Shh, look, he's sleeping like a baby. The nerve on this guy," the older driver scoffed. "These untouchable elites, framed or not, assaulting an actress is nothing to them. One phone call from his parents, and the chief will be apologizing to him tomorrow." The young cop ground his teeth. Damn it all. Scum like this should be locked away forever. But they had no idea the man in the back seat wasn't sleeping at all. As the former shadow, staying alert in strange environments was instinct. Right now, my brain was dissecting the trap piece by piece. First, the timing. The cops and media appeared perfectly synced with the woman's scream. This proved there were at least 2 groups waiting outside, timing the signal. This was a premeditated livestream event. Second, the charge. A felony that instantly destroys a public figure's reputation. With witnesses and evidence manipulating public opinion. Even if I jumped into the holy river, I couldn't wash this clean. A fatal strike. Third, the media. Not just 1 or 2 outlets, but a whole fleet. The mastermind had massive resources and mastered psychological warfare. They didn't need the truth. They just needed the predator label superglued to my forehead. Timing, charges, public opinion. A tight 3-hit combo. The trap was near perfect. Shame the execution was so amateurish. In the eyes of a king of the underworld like me, this was a toddler's doodle full of plot holes. True Apex players eliminate targets without a trace. This setup was too low class, and that revealed the mastermind's fatal flaw. They were desperate to stomp me to death instantly. The suspect list shrank drastically. It had to be a newly risen family in Metro City, eager to steal the top spot. Just then a name flashed from the depths of my memory like a lightning bolt. Brad Sterling, the heir to the Sterling family, the city's newest money. In the dark, my lips curled up. It's him. This Brad guy always tried to compete with me, and every time I crushed him with pure, arrogant wealth. A week ago we bid on a watch. Brad went up to 30 million. I casually threw down 1 billion and tossed the watch to a random date as a trinket. Brad's face was dripping with venom that night. He had the motive, he had the resources, an ambitious heir with cheap tactics. He fit the profile perfectly. "Ah, so it's you. Well then, the rest is easy." The police car slowed down. We arrived at the Metro City precinct. As I stepped out, an officer shoved me. But before I even stabilized, I saw a middle-aged man waiting on the steps. He wore a uniform, had a beer belly, and a face full of sycophantic grease. His eyes looked at me with undisguised gloating. My memory instantly supplied his file. Deputy Chief Louis Miller, the Sterling family's biggest umbrella inside the force. Seeing Louis, I smiled again. I met his smug gaze, walking up the steps with a gentle smile, as if I were a VIP guest rather than a suspect. I stopped right in front of him. Taking the high ground, I slowly spoke. "Deputy Chief Miller, it seems my case has got you quite excited, hasn't it?" The interrogation room was freezing and oppressive. Click. A high-powered desk lamp was flicked on, the blinding beam aimed right at my face. A classic psychological pressure tactic. Too bad it didn't work on me. I even comfortably narrowed my eyes, like I was sunbathing on a beach. The door swung open. Detective Chloe Frost walked in, radiating a frosty aura that kept people at bay. She slammed the file on the table, speaking coldly. "Name, Arthur Vance. Age 22. Occupation?" My lips smirked. "Occupation, spoiled playboy." Chloe was instantly triggered. "Arthur, this is an interrogation room. Fix your attitude and apologize." Force of habit. Chloe took a deep breath. "Tell me everything that happened tonight." Instead, I leaned back in my chair, looking incredibly relaxed. I didn't defend myself. I just looked at her with amusement. Officer, before I answer, can I ask you a few questions? Chloe frowned. I am interrogating you, I smiled. Don't be nervous. I just want to understand police procedures. Without waiting for her to refuse, I fired the first shot. From the moment you got the dispatch to the moment you kicked the door down, how long did it take? Chloe's pupils contracted. I continued. At most, 10 minutes. Your response time is godlike. Anyone else would think you were already waiting downstairs, just listening for a glass to drop as a signal. My blatant sarcasm made Chloe's face turn ugly. Because I was right. They did get a tip-off from the mastermind and were waiting. A massive procedural flaw. But I didn't give her time to think. I fired the second shot. And those dozens of reporters with heavy cameras, are they part of your off-the-book staff, or has the precinct invented a new media-supervised law enforcement model? Chloe choked, speechless. This question was even more venomous. Cops busting a room with reporters leading the charge? If this got out, the precinct would be a laughingstock. The final shot. I leaned forward slightly, my eyes piercing through her soul. Officer, you are an experienced detective. In any assault case, the most crucial thing is physical evidence. You have a witness, but you forgot the basics. From the moment you walked in, no medical exam, no DNA swabbing. You just slapped the cuffs on me. I chuckled softly, the sound grating on her nerves. I stared dead into her eyes. Tell me, did you guys come here to solve a case or to shoot a movie? 3 questions. 3 heavy hammer blows smashing into Chloe's heart. Her professional pride was shattered into pieces. The room fell dead silent. She stared at me, her chest heaving violently. She had never met a suspect like this. He wasn't being interrogated. He was the one passing judgment, judging this entire, ridiculous charade of an arrest. How could a rumored piece of trash exert such terrifying pressure? After a long time, Chloe slowly turned off the desk lamp. She closed the file, crossing her hands, deciding to change tactics. You don't seem worried at all. The playful smile vanished from my face, replaced by a calmness that sent shivers down her spine. I looked at her and replied flatly, why should I be worried? The ones who should be losing sleep right now are the directors of this little play. Eastern Military District, Metro City. The night was pitch black. Inside the Supreme Commander's office of this steel fortress, the lights were blazing. Secretary Smith held an encrypted intelligence report, standing before the mahogany door for 3 full minutes, too scared to knock. Because behind that door was the Empire's youngest general, General Maximus Vance, a legend who walked out of mountains of corpses and seas of blood. And the report in Smith's hand was enough to ignite this god of war's fury. Finally, military instinct conquered fear. Smith knocked. A single word, carrying unquestionable authority, echoed from inside. Enter. Smith walked in. Under the lamp, a towering figure was leaning over a military map. His blood-soaked aura was sharper than any blade. What is it? Maximus asked without looking up, his tone flat. Smith saluted sharply, offering the file with both hands, his voice dry. Commander, urgent intelligence from Metro City. Maximus's gaze, sharp as physical daggers, locked onto Smith. He took the file. The office fell into a deathly silence. Smith watched from the corner of his eye. As soon as Maximus read the first line, his brows knitted tightly. The next second, when the words suspected of felony assault, taken away by police, hit his eyes, his entire body went rigid. An utterly terrifying, murderous aura erupted. Smith felt like he was being stared down by a primordial beast. His blood stopped flowing. His legs turned to jelly. That bastard! A roar of pure rage echoed like thunder. The century-old pearwood desk was punched completely through by his fist. Splinters flew everywhere. The report was crumpled into a ball. My face, the Vance family's honor, completely dragged through the mud by him. Maximus abruptly stood up, pacing the room like a fully enraged lion. He had fought half his life, achieving glorious merits, proud to his core, only to spawn such a useless son. Assault? This crossed the bottom line of the Empire's laws. The fire of rage burned wildly in his chest. He wanted to fly to Metro City right now and shoot the ungrateful son himself. But just as his fury peaked, his bloodshot, tiger-like eyes twitched. He caught sight of the calligraphy hanging on the wall. Strict discipline, leading by example. Those words instantly suppressed the volcano about to erupt. Years in the military had forged his superhuman self-control. Maximus slowly took a deep breath. The red faded from his eyes, replaced by a deep, abyss-like coldness. He knew he couldn't act on emotion. As the Supreme Commander, he absolutely could not use military power to interfere with justice. The political backlash would be a mountain. Thinking of this, he sat back down. His straight back now revealed a hint of helplessness and exhaustion. The Iron General was, in the end, just a father dealing with a disappointing son. He looked up at Smith, his voice calm again but carrying an even more terrifying implication. Leave. Yes, Commander. Smith practically fled the room. Alone in the vast office, Maximus finally picked up the encrypted red phone. He dialed the number he least wanted to call right now. The line connected. A crisp, slightly lazy female voice answered. Max, is something wrong at the base this late? Hearing her voice, a bitter look crossed the tough general's face. Victoria, it's me. It's about the family. He paused, using his calmest tone to relay the event. That idiot son of ours in Metro City got arrested for allegedly assaulting an actress. The other end went dead silent for over 10 seconds. Maximus could imagine how frosty the face of the usually breezy business empress had become. I understand. It's inconvenient for you to intervene. Victoria's voice returned, the laziness gone. replaced by bone-chilling frost. Leave this to me. Maximus paused, his voice complex. You've spoiled him since he was a kid. If this is true, no one can protect him. Our family cannot afford this disgrace. I know. Just as Maximus was about to hang up, his fatherly instinct took over. He leaned into the mic, his voice suppressing endless killing intent, word by word. Victoria, investigate exactly who is playing tricks in the shadows. My son, even if he is a piece of scrap metal, it is not the place of outsiders to trample on him. Click. The call ended. Victoria Vance maintained her posture holding the phone. Her office sat at the very pinnacle of Metro City, the top floor of the Zenith Corporation headquarters. Outside the window, the city lights sparkled like the Milky Way, but right now the last trace of warmth on the Empress's face vanished, replaced by a freezing tundra. Her husband's last words echoed in her ears. Exactly, my son, Arthur. I can scold him, I can beat him, I can be disappointed in him to my very bones. But do others have the right? She gently placed the phone down. It acted like a switch that would make this entire commercial empire tremble. Victoria slowly turned around. Her phoenix eyes held no emotion, only a cold gaze looking down upon mortals. Like a glacier asleep for 10 years quietly awakening, she didn't scream. She simply extended a slender finger and pressed the red button on her desk, a button she absolutely never used on normal days. A second later, her chief secretary rushed in, bowing in a posture almost like worship, not even daring to breathe loudly, because she could feel it. The chairman today was a peerless divine sword drawn from its sheath. Victoria didn't look at her. Her gaze was fixed out the window. Her voice was light, but carried a bone-piercing authority. Call Harvey Strong. The secretary instantly connected to the apex of the empire's legal world. 10 seconds later, a steady male voice came through the speakerphone, full of absolute respect. Mrs. Vance. Victoria spoke slowly, each word a blade. Harvey, my son, Arthur, is currently at the city precinct. The charge is assault. Drop everything you are doing. Within 24 hours, I want him walking out of there without a scratch. The voice didn't hesitate. Understood. Victoria spoke again. Call Hawkeye. The secretary's heart skipped a beat. Hawkeye. The intelligence division that answered only to the chairman of Zenith. They knew everything under the sun. This division hadn't been personally activated in 5 years. The line connected. A robotic voice sounded. Hawkeye awaits your command. Victoria's voice grew colder. The actress involved, Stella Fox. The cops who filed the case, Chloe Frost, Lewis Miller. You have 1 hour. I want every single file on them from the day they were born to what they ate for supper last night. Put it on my desk. Everyone connected to them. Every clue. Do not miss a single thing. Order received. The call ended crisply. Just because of these 2 phone calls, a monstrous tsunami began churning in Metro City's underbelly. The massive commercial machine of Zenith spun up to maximum speed. Just from one sentence of the Empress. Emergency legal teams charged toward the precinct like sharks smelling blood. The PR department activated its highest protocol, bracing for the media storm. Countless sleeping financial monsters quietly opened their eyes, waiting for the Empress's next command. The secretary stood aside, holding her breath. She had been with Victoria for 10 years. Only once, a decade ago, when foreign capital aggressively besieged Zenith, had she seen the chairman like this. That time, a Wall Street shark went bankrupt overnight and jumped off a building. Who provoked the sleeping Empress this time? Victoria walked to the floor-to-ceiling window, a lonely silhouette, yet ruling the world. She looked down at the city, as if looking at her chessboard. Chairman, any further instructions? Victoria didn't turn around. She said flatly. Notify the board. All collaborations with the Sterling Group are suspended immediately. Meanwhile, at the Imperial Red Studios in Rome, Europe, under the spotlight stood a woman who naturally formed her own world. She possessed a face that made all flowers bow in shame. Her aura was as cold as an ice goddess. A mere smile or frown could shake men's souls. She was Luna Vance, the Empire's only Best Actress to win the Grand Slam at 3 major international film festivals, a legend with over 3 billion global fans. As the director yelled, "Cut!" the sorrow on Luna's face vanished, returning to her usual aloofness. Her assistant rushed up with a coat and warm water. Director James walked over, praising her endlessly. Luna, your acting is truly God's masterpiece. But Luna only nodded politely. Aloof was her defining brand in the entertainment circle. She walked to the rest area, about to close her eyes, when her golden manager, Sister Mary, rushed over with a phone. Mary's face was heavy with unprecedented panic. Luna, Mary's voice was dry. Luna slowly opened her eyes, a hint of confusion in her usually calm gaze. Mary had been with her for 10 years. Even if a mountain collapsed, she wouldn't change her expression. What happened? Mary took a deep breath and handed her the phone. On the screen was the breaking news from the Empire's biggest portal. The bold black headline stabbed into Luna's eyes like a poisoned needle. Empire's one Playboy, Arthur Vance, arrest on scene for suspected assault of trending starlet Stella Fox. Luna's mind went blank as if a bomb had gone off. The phone slipped from her fingers. Smack. It hit the ground. Everyone around turned to look, not understanding why the always elegant goddess had lost her composure. Mary's heart sank. It's over. Her worst fear happened. Arthur was Luna's only weak spot, her reverse scale. The whole world knew Luna was cold, but only Mary knew that deep in her bones, she was an unreasonably protective demon of a sister. Time seemed to freeze for 3 seconds. Then Luna slowly bent down and picked up the phone. When she looked up, every emotion had vanished from her face, replaced by an absolute freezing chill that terrified even Mary. If Luna was an iceberg before, she was now a 10,000-foot abyss beneath the ice, enough to freeze all life. She spoke, not loudly but firm as iron. My brother absolutely did not do this. He's an idiot, he's a playboy, he's arrogant, but he is absolutely not scum. She didn't need evidence. She believed her brother, unconditionally. Someone is playing him. Killing intent flashed in Luna's eyes. She didn't panic or cry. She pulled out her private phone. The calmness and decisiveness shook Mary. This is the true face of the Vance family. Her first call was to the media mogul of the empire, chairman of Starlight Entertainment, Richard Clark. A hearty laugh came through. Luna, rare for you to call Uncle Richard when you're busy. Luna didn't make small talk. Uncle Richard, you saw the news about my brother. Suppress it. Her tone wasn't a plea, it was a notification. Richard paused, then smiled bitterly. Luna, this isn't a small matter. The scene, the witness, the evidence are all there. Even if we want to, we can't suppress it. Luna's voice grew colder. I said suppress it. All portals, all social media, all short video platforms. Within 10 minutes, I do not want to see a single negative piece of news related to my brother. Uncle Richard, I know perfectly well. In this industry, there is nothing money and power cannot suppress. You can do it. Silence. Richard felt that Luna was different today. It was an aura he had only felt from her father. He sighed. Fine, Uncle will help you. Consider it paying back a favor to your father. Thank you. Luna hung up crisply. She immediately made a second call, a third, a fourth. Every call was to key figures in media, public opinion, and even top political figures. She didn't use the family name. She only relied on the name Luna Vance and the terrifying network she built over 10 years as a top actress. Done calling, she abruptly stood up. Mary, tell Director James I'm not filming the remaining scenes. Mary gasped. What? Luna, are you crazy? This is James's movie. The breach of contract penalty is astronomical, and your international reputation. Luna sneered, cutting her off. My brother is about to be stomped into the mud. What do I care about some illusionary reputation? She spoke forcefully. I, Luna Vance, stand on this pedestal, not because someone handed it to me, but because I climbed it myself. I climbed it today, and even if I have to start from scratch tomorrow, I can do it again. But I only have one brother. Her absolute domineering words stunned Mary into silence. Just then, Director James noticed something was wrong and strode over. Luna, what's going on? You look terrible. Luna looked at him, speaking in fluent, calm English. I'm very sorry, Director James. An urgent family matter has come up. I must return home immediately. I'm afraid I cannot continue the shoots. James's face changed. What are you saying? Do you know what you're saying? The whole crew of hundreds is waiting for you. You leave now. That's a breach of contract. Facing the towering rage of the international director, Luna just looked at him calmly. The next second, she turned and walked out. Simultaneously, she called her private assistant, completely ignoring James's roars and Mary's anxious calls behind her. Her voice was an unquestionable queen's command. Book me the earliest private jet home. Tell the director we are breaking the contract. I'll pay whatever penalty. My brother is in trouble. I must go back immediately. I had just put on my prison uniform. My brand new tens of thousands dollar bespoke suit was thrown on the floor like garbage. The next second, a guard poked my chest with a baton, his face full of glee. Young Master Vance, Deputy Chief Miller personally instructed us to take extra good care of you. He emphasized care heavily. The surrounding guards burst into laughter. You could clearly see their goal, completely crush my arrogant bones. But facing this blatant threat, my face showed no reaction. I even nodded politely. Then I'll be troubling you. My calm attitude thoroughly pissed off the guard. A useless rich kid at the end of his rope, still daring to act tough in front of him? He pointed his baton, his voice ice cold. Throw him into Block C, Cell 303. The smiles on the guards' faces turned deeply sinister. Block C, the place for murderers, robbers, and cartel bosses, hands covered in blood, and Cell 303 was the one Diablo cell, filled with desperate men and psychopaths. Tossing a soft, pale, rich kid like me into that wolf den? I wouldn't survive the night. Just like that, I was shoved into a gloomy hallway. Eyes poisonous as snakes glared at me from behind iron bars. This was the purgatory of human nature. Yet, walking down this path to hell, my heart was as calm as a dead lake. I even felt a hint of nostalgia. Years ago, as the Assassin King's shadow, I carved my way out of a Middle Eastern PO camp. Compared to that, this place was practically a spa retreat. My eyes instantly turned into a high-precision radar, hallway length, number of cameras, blind spots, shift change timings. All data flooded my brain, instantly generating 3 separate prison break plans. The guard stopped in front of a heavy iron door. A chilling sign hung on it, C303. Clang! The door opened. A foul, oppressive smell rushed out. The guard shoved me hard. Enjoy your new home, young master. Slam. The heavy door shut, completely cutting me off from the outside world. The cell fell dead silent. Over a dozen pairs of eyes stabbed into me like poisoned knives, the excited, cruel gaze of beasts seeing prey. I swept my expressionless eyes around. The room was barely 300 square feet, packing 15 massive, muscular inmates, scars, aggressive tattoos, savage faces. Some were playing cards, some doing push-ups. When I walked in, they all stopped. The air grew suffocating. This was the hazing. Just then, a bald guy on the deepest bunk slowly sat up. He was 6'3", muscles bulging, a black dragon tattooed across his shoulders, making him look fierce. This was the boss of the Diablo cell, Baldy Craig. He hopped down barefoot, slowly walking toward me. His lackeys fell in behind him, forming a semicircle, blocking my retreat. Craig stopped in front of me, his massive height bringing strong pressure. He circled me like a bear, his eyes full of blatant invasion. He smacked his lips, making a tack sound, then stopped. He reached out, a hand as big as a palm leaf, lightly slapping my cheek repeatedly. This was max-level humiliation. He bared his yellow teeth, sneering word by word. "Kid, heard you're some big shot, young master. You know the rules here?" Suddenly he roared. "First, get on your knees and kowtow to your grandpas," the cell erupted. "Ha ha ha, Craig told you to kneel, you deaf? Start banging that head so we can hear it." They looked at me with sick anticipation, waiting for me to beg for mercy. Crushing a man's dignity was their greatest joy. Too bad I was going to disappoint them. Facing these wolves and tigers, my face remained ancient, well calm. No fear, no anger. Cold as 10,000-year-old ice. As if the dozen desperate criminals in front of me were just stray mutts. My extreme calmness made their laughter die down. They realized something was off. A bizarre, bone-chilling aura radiated from me. This new kid is spooky. The smile on Craig's face stiffened. My eyes looking at him like a dead man was the ultimate provocation. "Hey kid, I'm talking to you, you deaf?" His patience ran out, vicious light flashing in his eyes. The hand slapping my face suddenly pulled back. I said, "Kneel." His massive hand swung violently toward my face, carrying the sound of wind. He used full force. Everyone watched, waiting to see my face beaten to a pulp. But a millisecond before that hand touched my face, I moved. Fast, unbelievably fast, just a blur in their retinas. No one saw how I moved, let alone how I struck. They only saw the end result. The hand swinging at me stopped exactly 1 inch from my face, blocked by a hand, a slender, elegant hand. No one knew when it appeared, but it locked onto Craig's wrist like a steel vice. Craig's smile froze, replaced by shock. He instinctively tried to pull back, but his terrifying strength, enough to bend iron bars, couldn't make my hand budge a single millimeter. It was welded to his wrist. How is this possible? While his brain short-circuited, I slowly raised my other hand and casually dusted off an invisible speck from my shoulder. I looked up. My calm eyes finally showed a trace of emotion. Not anger, not killing intent. Just the disgust reserved for noisy trash. "Too loud," I said softly. As the words fell, my hand locking his wrist simply twisted outward and folded. Crack! A crisp sound of bone breaking echoed through the cell. It made everyone's scalp tingle. Next came a pig slaughter scream from Craig's throat. Everyone's eyes bulged. Craig's thick right arm was twisted at an angle completely contrary to human anatomy. White bone pierced the skin, exposed to the air. Just one move. Not even a move. The king of 303, who could supposedly kill a bull with one punch, had his prized arm crippled instantly. Everyone was dumbfounded, brains empty. But under their ghost-seeing eyes, I wasn't done. I lifted my leg and casually kicked Craig in the chest. A muffled thud. His 200-plus-pound body flew backward like a broken sack. The 2 lackeys behind him couldn't dodge and were knocked to the ground. The cell was instantly a mess. But the show wasn't over. I walked at a leisurely pace to the guy writhing in agony on the floor. Craig. Under the horrified, despairing eyes of everyone, I slowly raised my foot and brought it down, perfectly stomping onto Craig's distorted, agonizing face. I applied a little pressure. Craig's screams stopped, turning into muffled, pained grunts. The cell fell into deathly silence again. The inmates who were howling a minute ago were frozen in place like statues. The gloating vanished, replaced by a fear rising from the depths of their souls. "Demon! This guy isn't some pretty boy. He's a monster in human skin!" My foot still resting on Craig's face, I slowly looked up. My glacial gaze swept over every single person in the room. Finally, my voice, calm enough to make a heart seize, drifted out. "Now, who wants to explain the rules to me again?" At that moment, the inmates were like chicks grabbed by the neck. Pale faces, not even daring to breathe loudly. Their eyes were locked onto the young man casually resting his foot on their former boss's head. He wasn't built like a tank, but he radiated a terrifying aura of a dark god. Fear, primal fear. They were killers, yes. But only now did they understand true fear. What this man emitted wasn't viciousness or brutality, it was an absolute supreme disregard for all life. In his eyes, they were ants. If he wanted to crush them, he'd crush them without a single ripple of emotion. That was what was truly terrifying. However, in that dead silence, there's always 1 or 2 idiots blinded by rage. "Damn it, you touched Boss Craig! Brothers, rush him! Kill this pretty boy!" The silence broke. 2 lackeys knocked down earlier scrambled up. A guy nicknamed Mad Dog, eyes red, grabbed a heavy, dirty boot and swung it straight at the back of my head. Another guy, Scarface, roared, throwing a punch at my ribs. 3 or 4 others lunged from all directions. In their minds, no matter how good this kid was, he was alone. 2 fists can't block 4 hands. If they rushed him, they could crush him with sheer numbers. Too bad they were wrong, tragically wrong. Facing this mob, my face didn't ripple. Even the foot on Craig didn't move an inch. The moment Mad Dog's boot was about to smash my skull, I moved. My body shifted like a phantom, leaning slightly. Just like that, avoiding a lethal blow. The next second, my right arm struck backward like a viper. My elbow turned into the sharpest weapon, violently smashing into Mad Dog's chest. Crack! Another bone-shattering sound. Mad Dog's ribs caved in. He flew backward, spitting a massive arc of blood in midair. Simultaneously, Scarface's fist arrived, but as if I had eyes on the back of my head, I didn't even turn around. My left hand formed a knife edge and casually slashed backward. Smack! A crisp sound. The hand knife hit precisely on Scarface's wrist joint. He felt agonizing pain, his heavy punch losing all power, but it didn't end there. My left hand slid up, 5 fingers spreading, grabbing his panicked face. I slammed it down, then violently hurled him into the concrete wall. Thud. Scarface didn't even get to grunt. His eyes rolled back, and he slid down like a wet noodle, dead or alive unknown. In a fraction of a second, 2 desperate criminals, critically injured, 1 knocked out cold, and my feet hadn't moved half a step from their original spot. What kind of monster is this? The remaining inmates lunged halfway, then froze instantly. Their momentum halted abruptly, causing them to trip and tumble hilariously into a pile. They stared at me as if looking at the living Grim Reaper crawling out of hell. Having cleaned up the trash, I slowly turned around. My cold eyes first swept over the groaning bodies on the floor, then slowly looked at the remaining inmates who hadn't dared to move. Finally, I pulled my foot off Craig's face. Throughout the entire process, what I displayed wasn't just crushing power, but surgical precision control. I crippled 5 men in one breath, broken bone snap tendons, all lost combat capability, but no one died. I perfectly avoided every fatal spot on their bodies. This scalp-tingling control completely broke the psychological limit of these criminals. Thud! 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 Someone started it. The remaining dozen inmates, as if their spines were pulled out, lost strength in their legs. Uncontrollably, they dropped to their knees. They kept their heads down, trembling like leaves. They didn't even dare to look up at me. Submission. Absolute submission from the depths of their souls. From this moment on, I was the new king of Cell 303. However, looking at the flock of sheep kneeling before me, a flash of boredom crossed my eyes. I didn't bother looking at them again. I adjusted my slightly wrinkled prison uniform, then walked unhurriedly toward a scrawny inmate huddled in the corner, shaking violently. He looked like the least threatening guy in the room. A warm, spring breeze smile bloomed on my face. I reached out, gently patting his rigid shoulder, under his terrified gaze looking like he was about to pee his pants. I smiled and asked softly, "Hey man, got a phone? Let me borrow it." A gentle voice. But the scrawny guy felt the Grim Reaper's scythe against his neck. His teeth chattered uncontrollably. He couldn't form a single word. My smile didn't fade, but my eyes narrowed slightly. Just that tiny movement made the guy feel a freezing hand squeeze his heart. Survival instinct conquered all. He shot up from the floor, frantically digging into his filthy pants, and pulled out an object wrapped in a plastic bag. He wiped it furiously on his sleeve, then offered it up with trembling hands like a tribute. It was an ancient Nokia Mini, a fossil. I didn't even look at him. I took the phone expressionlessly and turned it on. The classic startup chime echoed in the dead silent cell, eerily loud. The kneeling criminals had quietly retreated into the corners, shrinking back like frightened quails, almost holding their breath. The crippled Scarface covered his mouth, not daring to make a sound. Baldy Craig, enduring the blinding pain of his broken arm, forced himself to stay awake. Because they knew better than anyone, pissing off this new king meant a fate worse than death. But I ignored them entirely. I walked to the absolute blind spot of the security camera, putting my back to everyone. My long fingers flew across the tiny keypad. I didn't open the contacts. I directly typed a 32-digit encrypted number. This number was burned into my soul. It was the highest level emergency line of the Shadow Guild. Only someone with the codename Shadow had the clearance to call it. 10 seconds later, the line connected. Dead silence on the other end. They were waiting for a unique identification code. My lips moved. Using a highly specific vocal technique, I emitted a Morse code sequence containing 13 different audio frequencies. Translated, it meant one word, monarch. 3 seconds of silence. Then, an emotionless robotic voice spoke. Convocation successful. Nightingale system activated. My lord, please issue your command. Hearing this familiar voice, a complex emotion flashed in my ancient well eyes. The Nightingale system was the most powerful intelligence network in the world, built by my own hands. I never expected to reboot my own empire this way. I didn't waste time. I lowered my voice, devoid of emotion. I am Shadow. Initiate Nightingale protocol. Investigate someone for me. Brad Sterling in Metro City. This time I wasn't using the Vance family's power. That belonged to Arthur Vance. I was the monarch Shadow of the Shadow Guild. I was going to use my past life's power to crush the annoyances of this life. The command was issued, but the Nightingale AI didn't respond immediately. A bizarre silence fell over the earpiece. Just as I thought the system crashed, the emotionless electronic voice started trembling violently, distorting, and finally turned into a man's voice, stuttering with extreme shock and wild ecstasy. "Lord, is it really you, my lord?" The voice was fanatical, like a lost believer hearing the voice of their god after years of wandering. "My lord, you're alive!" Hearing this familiar voice, my lips curled up. Ghost! This was the world's #1 hacker, the admin of the Nightingale system. Ghost, it's me, boss, it's me. The whole world thought you were. I cut him off flatly. The old shadow is dead. My gaze pierced through the concrete wall, looking at the starry sky outside. The man breathing now is named Arthur Vance. Meanwhile, at the King Club, Metro City's most luxurious underground casino, in the VIP section, a fat man was enjoying himself like an emperor, surrounded by beauties and lackeys. Kevin Big Kev King. People in the scene respectfully called him Fatty King. No one dared underestimate this ugly fat man because his family controlled Metro City's underground gray market. He was also my only diehard buddy. Right when Big Kev was partying hard, a special satellite phone in his pocket buzzed. Seeing the caller ID, his smile froze. Less than 5 people had this number, and they only called in absolute emergencies. He waved off the beauties. In an instant, the massive VIP area was empty, replaced by a sharp intensity completely unsuited to his appearance. He answered. His subordinate's panicked voice came through. Boss, bad news, huge news. Big Kev's voice was eerily calm, the silence before a storm. Arthur, what happened to Arthur? Arthur got framed. Arrested by the cops for assault. The news is about to blow up. Hearing this, a terrifying, murderous glare shot out of Big Kev's squinted eyes. He didn't say a word, but the temperature around him seemed to drop to freezing. The massive, usually laughing fat man suddenly radiated a physical aura of death. I know, he said, and hung up. He slowly stood up. His obese body was now like a volcano about to erupt. He pulled out another phone and started making calls. His voice wasn't loud, but every command made Metro City tremble. Wake all the brothers up. Find a chick named Stella Fox. I don't care if you have to steal or rob. I want to know where she is in 1 hour. Old 9, use all your connections. Look into the precinct. Who led the team? Who gave the order? That Deputy Chief Miller. I want to know how many times he went to the bathroom today. Rat, I got a job for you. Dig up all the dirt on Stella Fox and everyone around her. Money is no object. I want her and the mastermind to know what it means to be ruined, call after call, command after command. An invisible massive net covered Metro City instantly. The entire gray zone boiled over because of Big Kev's words. He sat back down. He believed Arthur had his pride. He'd never do something so low. This was a trap, a vicious trap aimed at his best brother. Thinking of Arthur locked in a cell, the rage in his heart boiled wildly. The phone rang again. His top enforcer Bao. Where is she? Big Kev growled. Boss, we flipped the city upside down, but we can't find her. She vanished into thin air. Trash! Big Kev's fury exploded. He kicked a solid bronze coffee table across the room. Clang! The massive sound silenced the entire club. Eyes red as a rabid beast, he roared into the phone. If you can't find her, go jump in the river. Whoever touched my brother, I'll make their whole family disappear. While Big Kev stirred up a tsunami, 3 black Mercedes sedans ignored all barricades, stopping arrogantly right at the precinct entrance. Doors opened. 7 or 8 elite professionals in high-end suits stepped out. Their gazes were sharp as eagles, their aura so overwhelming the gate guards felt suffocated. Leading them was a middle-aged man in gold-rimmed glasses. Elegant, but his eyes were sharp as knives. Harvey Strong, the legal legend who gave judges migraines. He hadn't lost a case since his debut. People called him the legal Grim Reaper. Who are you? This is a police station. A young cop tried to block them. Harvey didn't even look at him. His female assistant slapped down a gold-plated lawyer's license and a Zenith Corporation authorization letter. She lifted her chin, her voice cold. Chief Counsel of the Empire's apex law firm, Harvey Strong. Commissioned by the chairman of Zenith Corporation, Madam Victoria Vance. Providing legal counsel for my client, Mr. Arthur Vance. By law, we have the right to meet our client within 48 hours. Arrange it immediately. My time is very valuable. The young cop was stunned. The legal Grim Reaper, Harvey Strong? And the Empire's business empress, Victoria Vance? What kind of god-tier lineup was this? He scrambled inside to report. Soon a stressed-out Chloe Frost walked out. Seeing Harvey's suffocating presence, her heart sank. She knew no one was sleeping tonight. Mr. Strong, I've heard a lot about you. Harvey cut to the chase. Captain Frost. Skip the pleasantries. Where is my client? I want to see him immediately. Is he being interrogated? When did it start? Is it fully recorded? Are his rights being protected? A barrage of professional bullet-like questions left Chloe breathless. She had to concede. She knew she couldn't block him. Follow me to the interview room. Harvey finally met Arthur. One glance and surprise flashed in Harvey's mind. The young man before him wore prison clothes and handcuffs but sat quietly, his back straight. No despair, no panic of someone whose life was over. His relaxed demeanor was deeper than billionaire tycoons Harvey had met. Is this the legendary useless playboy? Harvey suppressed his surprise and sat down. Mr. Vance, hello. I am Harvey Strong, commissioned by Madam Victoria as your legal representative. Arthur looked up, evaluating him. Not bad for my mother's ace. Thanks for the hard work, Mr. Strong. It's my duty. Harvey opened his briefcase, taking out a recorder and a laptop. Mr. Vance, time is tight. My team has done a preliminary analysis. The current situation is extremely unfavorable to you. Witnesses, evidence, public opinion. The other side has practically nailed you to the cross of shame. I need you to tell me the absolute truth. Harvey was prepared to hear a spoiled brat's nonsensical excuses, but Arthur's next words completely exceeded his expectations. I didn't cry foul. I didn't curse. I used an almost coldly logical tone to recount the entire event. Finally, I looked at Harvey and issued some frankly ruthless instructions. I'm in no rush to get out. I want you to muddy the waters. Harvey was stunned. Muddy the waters? My lips curled into a cold arc. Use what you do best to strike back. Illegal case filing procedures. For example, why did reporters arrive before the police? Why wasn't an immediate medical exam done on the victim? Bite onto these points and don't let go. I want that Deputy Chief Miller to lose sleep and appetite for the next 48 hours. Harvey's eyes lit up. Muddy the waters. Relieve the siege by attacking their base. This was not the thinking of a playboy. This was the mind of an apex chess master. Arthur issued his second command. Apply for an evidence preservation order immediately. Demand the police provide all original, unedited CCTV footage within a 500-meter radius, inside and outside the hotel. Remember, original. I suspect they tampered with the key evidence. Harvey's gaze grew extremely serious. He had thought of this too, but for Arthur to point it out so precisely refreshed his entire view of the young master. Third, Arthur leaned back, his tone amused. Leak some info to the media. Say I suspect this is a malicious frame-up by commercial rivals targeting the Zenith Corporation. This time, Harvey was truly speechless. Elevating a criminal case directly to the level of corporate warfare? This move was practically divine. Not only would it instantly divert public attention, but it would also expose the mastermind to the terrifying wrath of the Zenith Corporation. Looking at the young man who casually wove an inescapable net while smiling, Harvey felt a chill down his spine. This isn't a playboy. This is a calculating, flawless beast wearing a sheep's skin. After a long while, Harvey recovered from his shock. He closed his laptop, stood up abruptly, and respectfully bowed slightly to Arthur, a sign of respect for a true powerhouse. Mr. Vance, Harvey said, his eyes full of unprecedented awe. You are completely different from the rumors, rest assured. Within 48 hours you will walk out. The interview room door closed. Arthur was taken back to the chaotic Block C cell 303, but this time the reception was no longer a hazing. Clang! The moment the iron door opened, all the inmates, even Craig with his broken arm, stood up simultaneously. They bowed their heads respectfully, not daring to breathe loudly, automatically making a path leading straight to the king's top bunk. That reverence and fear were carved into their bones. The two escorting guards' eyes nearly popped out of their skulls. They rubbed their eyes, unable to believe it. What the hell? Is this still the Diablo Cell 303? It's only been a few hours. What did young Master Vance do in there? Arthur didn't even glance at the crowd. He walked straight to the top bunk, sat down gracefully, and closed his eyes to rest, as if he was born to sit on that throne. Deep into the night, snoring echoed in the cell. Right at midnight, a very faint sound of metal scraping came from outside the door. The small food slot on the door was quietly slid open from the outside. A white-gloved hand slipped in, placed a rectangular black object on the floor, and withdrew silently. No wasted movements. But the exact moment the hand withdrew, Arthur, who seemed fast asleep, snapped his eyes open. Bright as stars, cold as ice, no sleepiness, only chilling alertness. He slid off the bed silently, landing like a night cat without a sound. He walked to the door, bent down, and picked up the black object. A brand new, untraceable custom phone. A smile curled Arthur's lips. Fast work. He knew without thinking this was the arrangement of his omnipotent mother, Victoria. Harvey was the frontal pressure. This phone would deliver the fatal blow from behind. He got back into bed, pulling the blanket over his head. The screen lit up, booting directly into a single encrypted app. The moment it turned on, the phone buzzed. A message was waiting. One word and a code. Ghost Online. Seeing this, Arthur's eyes deepened. Ghost, top 3 hacker in the world, makes global cybersecurity departments pale at his name. A cyber ghost who only owed a favor to one man, Shadow. Years ago, when Ghost was hunted globally, Shadow saved him from an inescapable net. To repay him, Ghost promised 3 unconditional favors. Booting up Nightingale was the first. Arthur's fingers flew across the screen, issuing the second directive. Target Metro City Skynet system. Task: extract CCTV footage from 22 to 24 last night at the Rich Garden Hotel. Execution time: 10 minutes. This was Skynet, a super surveillance network the Empire spent fortunes to build, connecting millions of cameras. Military-grade servers, a supposedly impenetrable fortress. 10 minutes to hack it and extract raw data? Utterly absurd. But Arthur's face was full of absolute confidence. He knew for Ghost there was no network on Earth he couldn't breach. Sure enough, less than 5 minutes later the phone buzzed. A short reply from Ghost. Task complete. Data packaged and sent to your encrypted inbox. Another message popped up. Detected unknown data stream in Skynet backend 30 mins ago attempting to delete hotel footage. Instructions? Arthur's smile grew colder. Just as he expected, the mastermind panicked and was destroying evidence. Shame the hacker they were so proud of wasn't even fit to carry Ghost's shoes. Ghost's next messages came back to back, boasting slightly. Boss found traces of the deleted video. Piece of cake for me. Want me to restore it? Same old Ghost. Arthur typed, restore it. Package all raw footage along with deletion alteration logs. Send it to me now. Buzz. A massive file package began downloading at terrifying speed. The progress bar sprinted. In just over 10 seconds, dozens of gigabytes of video downloaded. This was Ghost's true power. Arthur opened the package, going straight for the file marked altered the first video. The hotel hallway. Stella Fox in a sexy evening gown led by a waiter to Arthur's door. Then, She swiped a keycard and opened the door herself. No coercion. She looked expectant, even excited. But the official version given to the cops was spliced to make it look like she was shoved in. Clever splicing, but hilariously pathetic compared to Ghost's restored version. Every deleted frame, every altered timestamp was marked clearly in red. Ironclad proof. Arthur's eyes glinted with bone-chilling cold. Second video. A vicious angle from the office building across the street. Shortly after Stella entered the room, several muscular men sneaked to the back of the hotel. Leading them was Brad Sterling's top enforcer, Rick. They were secretly chatting with the hotel's security manager. After the chat, the pre-staged reporters slipped in through the staff entrance, covered by security. This nailed the collusion between the Sterling family and the hotel, video by video. Every single one was a nail crucifying the Sterling family to the cross of shame. How Stella entered, how Brad's men arranged the reporters, even how the corrupt police captain secretly met Deputy Chief Miller's driver at a cafe 30 minutes prior. Ghost violently unearthed all of it from the street cameras. A massive net woven of lies and conspiracy was torn to shreds before Arthur's eyes. From start to finish, this was a grand play directed by the Sterling family. Lewis Miller provided cover, the hotel provided the stage, Stella played the female lead, and he, Arthur, was the only blindfolded male lead. Heh, Arthur chuckled icily at the screen. No anger. No excitement of a beast before a hunt. I systematically categorized all the lethal evidence, encrypted it into a package, and sent it through secure channels to two people, Harvey Strong and my mother, Victoria Vance. Done. Just as I was about to wipe my tracks, the phone buzzed. New message from Ghost. Boss, while my hands were free, took a stroll through your enemy's computer. Another message. Found something fun. My eyebrow raised. What Ghost called fun was absolutely not simple. I waited. The next second, a screenshot of an email arrived. Sender, Brad Sterling. Receiver, his father, Victor Sterling. The attachment was a PPT titled Feasibility Report on Completely Toppling the Vance Family and Controlling Public Opinion. In this screenshot, one slide explicitly stated, Phase 3, bribe personnel inside the detention center. Create an accident to silence him permanently. Eliminate the root of the problem. Eliminate the root. What a nice phrase. Murderous intent exploded in my eyes. If the previous evidence only proved they framed me, this email was ironclad proof of attempted murder, a completely different ballgame. With this, I could keep the Sterling family buried forever. Before I could save the screenshot, Ghost sent a third message. Perfect timing. Boss hacked Brad's PC. Found an email where the father-son duo planned this. Need me to send it? No. Looking at that vicious email on the screen, the last trace of warmth in my eyes completely vanished, leaving only a Siberian death chill. Brad Sterling. The Sterling family dared to harbor killing intent against me. Very well. Ghost's grand gift was the final puzzle piece. The entire conspiracy was completely sealed. All clues, all speculations perfectly aligned. I closed my eyes, letting the original owner's memories surface. But this time I wasn't passively receiving them. I searched them like a top-tier hacker, finding info on the Sterling family and Brad the Sterlings, Metro City's nouveau riche. Shallow foundations but sky-high ambition. Scheming to step on the corpse of an old money family to rise. Unfortunately for them, the Vance family became their perfect stepping stone. And that sick ambition was perfectly inherited by their son, Brad. This guy had been stuck to my back like a fly. Frantically jealous of everything I had, my background, my reputation. He mimicked me, thinking he could surpass me. I buy a Ferrari. He orders a more expensive Bugatti the next day. I throw a pool party. He spends double to invite the exact same crowd. A laughable chaser, thinking he was the true king of the city. Shame, every performance of his was ruthlessly crushed by my simple, brutal methods. Like the charity auction last week, he fought me tooth and nail for a limited Patek Philippe, draining his yearly allowance to bid 30 million, thought he won. Even drafted his bragging post. The result? I didn't even blink. Lazily raised my paddle, 1 billion. Bought it, and in front of everyone, tossed it to a third-rate starlet next to me like a cheap toy. It's shiny enough. Matches my outfit okay, I said. That was crushing dominance, depth charge destruction. From that moment, Brad's look wasn't jealousy anymore. It was venomous hatred. A sky-high hatred wanting to swallow me alive. So that's how it is. It was foreshadowed all along. I slowly opened my eyes. No more doubts, only clarity and a freezing intent to kill. Motive, capability, plus the stupidity of a mind clouded by hate. It all fit. This trap was a clumsy play gifted by the Sterling father and son. They thought they were the hunters. Thought the lion had fallen into the trap. Ridiculous. From the moment I stepped into this cell, the roles of hunter and prey had reversed. A cruel smile appeared on my face. I saved the murder plot email and the other evidence, encrypted it, and sent it out. Done. Without hesitation, I initiated the highest-level anti-tracking and wipe protocol on the phone. Code cascaded down the screen like a waterfall. In 3 seconds, all trace of operations, all sent and received data, were physically wiped clean. Even Ghost himself couldn't recover a single byte. Leave no trace. That is the professionalism of a shadow. I pulled out the SIM card and wrapped the phone in the bedsheet. I walked to the scrawny inmate and tossed it back. He looked at the recovered phone, then at me, paralyzed with fear. Finally, survival instinct won. He shakily took it, forcing a smile uglier than crying. Boss! You done with it? I nodded, turned back to my bed and lay down, closed my eyes as if nothing happened. I was back to being the Empire's top playboy, waiting out my 48 hours. But beneath that calm surface, a murderous intent capable of turning Metro City upside down was surging wildly. The Sterling family. Very well. I hope you're ready to endure my wrath. The next morning, the first ray of sunlight hit the cell. I slowly opened my eyes. No grogginess, only deep pool calmness. I looked to sleep all night, but my brain was running at max speed. I merged with the old memories and plotted a path to the absolute top for this new life. The starting point. Dealing with this minor annoyance of the Sterling family. Get up, all of you! A guard's rough shout, accompanied by a baton smashing against the iron bars. Clang! The inmates scrambled up like startled birds, moving 10 times faster than yesterday, terrified of disturbing the deity on the top bunk. I ignored them, stretching my body. Bones popped. A faint flow of internal energy circulated through my limbs. Initial body tempering stage. I smirked. Who knew this useless playboy was forced by his family to build a decent martial arts foundation? Sure, compared to my past life's near grandmaster strength, this was less than a firefly's glow, but it was better than nothing. Enough to handle the minor scenes right now. Suddenly, a very faint vibration came from under my blanket. My eyes shifted. Without changing expression, I flipped the blanket, grabbed the custom phone, and glanced at the caller ID. 3-layer encrypted virtual number, I answered. Big Kev's anxious voice blasted through. Arthur, how's it going in there? Those bastards didn't do anything to you, right? My voice was calm. I'm fine, talk business. Good, good. Big Kev breathed a sigh of relief, his tone instantly shifting to excited boasting. Arthur, that bitch Stella Fox you told me to find? We found her. Damn, had my boys running to death. That little shit Brad has some brains, didn't hide her in the city but at his private suburban villa, middle of nowhere. If I didn't have a guy who used to do renovations for him, we'd have been fooled. What's the situation? I asked calmly. Heh, Big Kev let out a cruel beast-like laugh. Don't worry, Arthur. I handle things, you relax. 50 of my best fighters have surrounded the villa like an iron bucket. Not even a fly is getting out. That Sterling punk thought he was flawless, only left 7 or 8 guards. Not even enough to get stuck in my guys' teeth. Big Kev lowered his voice, turning bloodthirsty. Arthur, just waiting on your word. Nod your head and my boys charge in, tie that bitch up, break her legs and toss those guards into the river to feed the fish. Give the order, Arthur. I didn't answer immediately. A brief silence hung on the line. Charge in, tie her up, rescue her? No, that's the stupidest method. Stella Fox is the sole key witness to this case. If we use violence to extract her, her testimony will be attacked as coerced. Not only would that fail to clear my name, it would cement the charge of using underworld forces, falling perfectly into the enemy's trap. Using violence for this kind of trap is amateur. You have to use your brain, use strategy. Make the enemy swallow bitter pills they can't spit out, and make Stella Fox willingly become my pawn. Arthur? Arthur, you listening? Big Kev interrupted my thoughts. I'm listening. I finally spoke, my voice calm but unquestionable. Kev, pull your men back. Big Kev froze. What? Pull back? Why, Arthur? This is our best chance. My tone grew heavy. I said, pull back. Big Kev was full of confusion, but out of blind trust in me, he gritted his teeth. Fine, you're the boss. I'll tell them to withdraw. Good. I nodded in satisfaction, slowly revealing my true plan. My voice was light, but sharp as a surgical scalpel. We can't touch Stella right now. She is Brad's trump card, but also his biggest burden. Charging in now ruins everything. I paused, the light of a hunter's wisdom flashing in my eyes. Leave her be. Just keep a close watch. Send me the address. I am going to make her willingly walk out of that villa and testify for me. 3 a.m. Major Crimes Unit office. Brightly lit. Detective Chloe Frost, her eyes bloodshot, stared at a piece of CCTV footage. She had watched this sub-1-minute clip hundreds of times, smooth playback, perfect timestamps, a totally normal recording. But her intuition was screaming, wrong, something is wrong. This intuition didn't just come from years of experience. It came from the man named Arthur Vance in the interrogation room. The shock he delivered overturned her entire worldview. A 22-year-old labeled a predator, yet possessing a terrifying composure. Not like a man whose life was over, but like a supreme chess master looking coldly at clumsy clowns on his board. Those 3 questions he asked were incisive to the extreme, peeling back the perfect shell of the case to reveal fatal flaws. That rigorous logic, that overwhelming aura, let alone a playboy. Even top-tier corporate criminals fell far short. The gap between rumor and reality was bizarre. Then the events that followed magnified her suspicions infinitely. Harvey Strong's sudden descent like a god of law. His appearance alone represented absolute pressure from the top. Then, his legal team filing a dozen motions in hours, putting the precinct's legal department in chaos. But what was even more bizarre was the media shift. Yesterday, reporters swarmed. Today, the entire internet was dead quiet. Major outlets acted like they were gagged. Total silence. If there wasn't a heaven-reaching power suppressing this, she'd eat her badge. Arthur's composure, the top lawyer's intervention, the suppressed media, and the key witness, the victim Stella, vanishing into thin air after giving her statement. Does a severely traumatized victim refuse police cooperation and play hide-and-seek? Is that normal? All these points merged into a speculation that shook her to the core. This whole case is a trap. A massive conspiracy targeting Arthur Vance. Stella Fox isn't a victim at all. She's the bait. Once the thought took root, it couldn't be suppressed. Chloe stood up abruptly, a hunter's glint in her eyes. She knew she had the right direction. But just then, Deputy Chief Miller pressured her, demanding she turn this into an ironclad case immediately. Clearly, Miller was the mole inside. Isolated, Chloe could only trust a few of her own men. "Everyone, gather round," she barked. Her subordinates huddled up. "Captain, found something?" Chloe's eyes were sharp as knives, her voice extremely low. "From now on, shift the direction of the investigation. Stop looking into Arthur Vance. We investigate Stella Fox." Her men were stunned. "Investigate the victim?" "Exactly." Chloe's eyes gleamed with intellect. "Check her entire social circle. Call logs, bank flows. I want to know who she contacted recently, especially anyone in the business world." "Yes, Captain." Just as they turned to leave, the office door was shoved open with a bang. A young tech officer rushed in, sweating profusely, his voice cracking with excitement. "Captain, we tracked Stella's bank accounts. Just 3 days ago, she received an anonymous transfer of $5 million. We followed the trail. The money came from an overseas shell company." The young cop swallowed hard, shouting the name that would shake the room. "The majority shareholder behind that shell company is the heir of the Sterling Group, Brad Sterling." Meanwhile, at the Sterling Villa, Brad was pacing nervously, anxiety written all over his handsome face. The grand play he directed had been running for 10 full hours, yet the internet was suspiciously clean. All the bot armies and press releases he arranged had been forcefully scrubbed by an invisible hand. Brad wasn't an idiot. He immediately understood the Vance family had made their move. An abyssal suppression he couldn't resist. As his mind spun into a mess, a cold shout came from the shadows. "What are you panicking for?" Brad's body stiffened. On the sofa sat his father, Chairman Victor Sterling. "Dad, the news is completely suppressed, and Harvey Strong, the legal Grim Reaper, is Arthur's lawyer." Victor's face didn't ripple. He swirled the wine in his glass. "I know." As if everything was in his grasp. "Then, what do we do?" Brad was like an ant on a hot pan. "Harvey Strong isn't a vegetarian. What if he pries something out of Stella?" "He won't." Victor cut him off flatly. "I've had Stella move to a place no one can find. Until the dust settles, she won't see a single soul." Brad's heart settled slightly, but worries lingered. "But the Vance family's power is too massive. I'm afraid of delays. That is why I say you are too young." Victor finally looked up, his eyes having weathered half a lifetime of corporate warfare, vicious beyond measure. "Brad, you must remember, our family has no way back. Since we decided to step on Arthur's corpse to rise, we must stomp him to death completely. To pull weeds, you must pull them by the roots." His words were light, but the temperature in the study plummeted. Brad's pupils shrank. He understood his father's meaning. "Dad, you mean, yes." Victor downed his red wine, slowly stood up and patted his son's shoulder. His bloodshot eyes flashed with venom. "Accidents happen in detention centers every day. One more dead inmate named Vance is just one more dead inmate. Only with one less Vance can our family sleep soundly." His father's words were like demon whispers. Ultimate greed and sky-high hatred instantly crushed Brad's remaining fear. His face twisted into madness. "I understand. I know what to do." He spun around, unlocked a drawer, and pulled out a black satellite phone. He shakily dialed a number. The line connected. A hoarse voice answered. "Hello." Brad tried to stay calm. "It's me. I have a job for you." A low chuckle.
"The Sterling Heir needs our help."
"Cut the crap. Name the price." Brad's eyes flashed with malice, speaking word by word.
"Metro City Detention Center 1, West Block, Cell 303. Arthur Vance."
The other end fell silent, clearly intimidated by the name. After a dozen seconds, the hoarse voice returned, unprecedentedly grave. "Mr. Sterling, are you joking? Touching him is like poking a hole in the sky," Brad roared. "I'm not joking. I just want him dead. Any method works." Silence again, assessing the risk. Finally, the voice named an astronomical figure. 10 million. 5 million deposit. Furthermore, we are only responsible for making him die in an accident. You bear the consequences. "Done," Brad agreed without hesitation. 10 million to buy Arthur's life? A fucking bargain. He hung up, a sick smile spreading across his face. Then he called the broker back, his voice like a demon from hell. "I want him to die in an accident in there. Keep it clean. Get it done, and you get your 10 million. Late night, the detention center was dead quiet. Clang! The iron door of cell 303 was shoved open. A figure was violently thrown in. The guard's gloating voice followed. "Here's your special delivery. Boys, hit him hard. Remember to collect the body tomorrow morning." The sleeping inmates were woken up, but seeing this newcomer, they fell dead silent. He was about 30, lean, expressionless, but those were eyes that had seen blood, that had killed, cold and venomous. His gaze swept the room. The self-proclaimed desperados instinctively avoided his eyes. Their beastly instincts screamed warning. This guy is extremely dangerous. But the newcomer's gaze passed over them, landing precisely on the figure seemingly fast asleep on the top bunk. His pupils contracted slightly. Killing intent flashed in his eyes. He had found his target, Arthur Vance. The $10 million bounty. A professional assassin with 3 lives on his record. Codename Viper. But Viper didn't strike immediately. He found an inconspicuous corner, leaned against the wall, and closed his eyes as if sleeping. Only he knew his muscles were drawn tight as a bowstring, waiting for the best moment to strike. When everyone's guard was lowest, 1:03 a.m., the time when humans sleep the deepest now. Viper opened his eyes like a stone statue coming to life. Vicious, primal excitement filled his eyes. He stood up silently, light as a feather, like a ghost. He drifted to another inmate's bed and slipped out the weapon he had targeted earlier. A toothbrush handle, sharpened against concrete for months. The tip gleamed with a pale, lethal light. Weapon in hand, a cold, cruel smile twisted Viper's lips. He glided to Arthur's bed like a hunting leopard, looking at the man breathing steadily, completely unaware of impending death. The one playboy, the Vance heir. After tonight, you won't exist. Viper's eyes exploded with murderous light. No more hesitation. He raised the sharpened shank high, funneling all his explosive strength into it, aiming straight for the center of Arthur's steadily rising back. He drove it down, fast, precise, vicious, tearing through the air, aimed right at his life. Viper could almost anticipate the exquisite sensation of warm blood spraying his face, but right at the millisecond the shank was about to pierce the heart, an anomaly occurred. A hand that seemed to have been waiting there all along. With a speed defying physics, it flashed out from under the blanket like lightning, and then, under Viper's extremely contracted pupils, two slender fingers clamped down perfectly, unshakably, onto the lethal weapon. Time seemed to freeze. The shank, driven with all of Viper's might, stopped bizarrely less than a centimeter from Arthur's back. Even with his face flushed red, straining every muscle, Viper couldn't push it another millimeter. How is this possible? Viper's brain went completely blank. A bone-deep chill instantly swallowed all his senses. He felt like his weapon wasn't caught by fingers, but clamped in a cold industrial vice. He wanted to pull back, but it was too late. Right as his courage shattered, the prey slowly turned over. Arthur didn't even sit up. He just lay on his side, looking at him leisurely. Then, under Viper's ghost-seeing eyes, Arthur opened his eyes. No sleepiness, no panic. Only the amusement of watching a clown jump around. He looked at the assassin, frozen like a statue, and smiled. His tone was light, like chatting with an old friend. With just these parlor tricks, you dared come to kill me? A light voice, but more bone-piercing than the winds of hell. Viper's brain descended into total chaos. Everything before his eyes completely shattered his reality. A monster. A monster that stopped his full-power strike with 2 fingers. A monster that put him at death's door while lying down. A monster facing a lethal strike, with a smile on his face. Is this even human? Impossible. The vicious nature of a professional assassin suppressed the fear. Viper's eyes turned red, letting out a low, beastly growl. He violently twisted his trapped right hand, while his left hand formed a black claw swiping savagely at Arthur's throat. He wanted to tear this monster apart, but Arthur's playful smile only deepened, even showing a hint of disappointment. He softly spat out 2 words. Too slow. As he spoke, the fingers clamping the shank squeezed. Crack! The hard plastic shank snapped like a biscuit between his fingers. Viper's pupils shrank to their absolute limits. His left claw, reaching for Arthur's throat, froze mid-air. 0.1 seconds. In life-and-death combat between masters, 0.1 seconds is fatal. Arthur moved. Still lying down, he casually flicked his right hand upward. Fast, extremely fast. Viper only saw a flash of white lightning. Then heart-piercing agony that made his soul tremble exploded from his left shoulder. Crack! Another bone-chilling sound. Viper's left arm mid-swipe went limp, dangling at a completely wrong angle. His entire shoulder joint had been casually but brutally dislocated by Arthur's flick. A suppressed groan of agony squeezed from Viper's throat. Pain that would make a normal person pass out on the spot. But this was just the beginning. Right as Viper lost his balance from the pain, Arthur's other hand shot out like a phantom, grabbing his head, and smashed it downward. Thud! Viper's head was violently smashed against the iron bed rail, a sickening thud that made teeth ache. Viper's vision went black, the world spun, and he completely lost all ability to resist. Arthur let go. Viper's body collapsed to the floor like a pile of wet mud. The cell was dead silent. All the inmates looked at the young man slowly sitting up with eyes meant for a demon. Their bodies shook violently. They didn't even dare let their teeth chatter, terrified of alerting this awakened Grim Reaper. Arthur got out of bed. Barefoot on the cold concrete, he walked unhurriedly over to Viper, looking down at him, like looking at a lab rat on a dissection table. Arthur suddenly shook his head, clicking his tongue in disappointment. Too sloppy! He slowly squatted down, looking at the terrified Viper, speaking calmly, like a teacher instructing a student. Your breathing is too chaotic. You don't know how to conceal your killing intent. Your stance is unstable. Your so-called one-hit kill is like a 3-year-old playing around, full of holes. Every word was a heavy hammer smashing into Viper's heart, crushing the last bit of pride he had as a professional assassin. Who are you? Viper pointed a trembling finger at Arthur, his voice shaking with extreme terror. But Arthur ignored his horror. He reached out and lightly tapped Viper's body, which was soaked in cold sweat twice, once on the right knee, once on the lumbar spine, here and here, 2 fatal weak points when you exert force. Arthur's voice remained calm. As long as someone strikes these 2 spots the moment you attack. Cruel, icy light flashed in Arthur's eyes. His hand suddenly applied force. Crack, crack! 2 bone-shattering sounds, even more horrifying than before, rang out simultaneously. Viper's right knee and lumbar spine were brutally crippled by Arthur's bizarre internal energy. This time, Viper couldn't hold it back. He let out a mournful, inhuman scream that would give anyone nightmares for a lifetime. He felt pain worse than death. He was now thoroughly crippled. And the man who did this didn't even have a change in expression. Endless despair swallowed Viper. He completely broke. He writhed on the floor like a worm, tears and snot covering his face. No more viciousness in his eyes, only the most pathetic begging.
Demon! You're a demon! Kill me! Please, kill me!
Arthur slowly stood up. He raised his foot and gently stepped on Viper's face, distorted by pain and absolute loss of dignity. Looking down at the trash beneath his foot, Arthur spoke softly, sounding both like a merciful god and a ruthless tyrant. Tell me, who sent you? I'll give you a chance to live. Arthur's voice was like a divine decree. Those words instantly ignited Viper's desire to survive. He can live? The next second, he threw all professional ethics out the window, screaming hoarsely, Brad! Brad Sterling, the Sterling heir. He gave me 10 million to create an accident and kill you in here. Let me live. He spilled everything like a broken dam. But Arthur's face showed no surprise. As if everything was in the palm of his hand, he slowly removed his foot. Viper, feeling pardoned, crawled to my feet like a dog, frantically rubbing against my pant leg. Believing he found his value to stay alive, he yelled, I'm willing to get out and testify against Brad. I'll be a tainted witness. I'll send him to prison. But I laughed. A laugh full of sarcasm and disdain. Testify against him? I looked down at Viper, my eyes like looking at an idiot. You think I need you to testify? You think to deal with garbage like him, I need to play with child's toys like the law? That sentence froze Viper. Brain empty. If he doesn't need me to testify, what value do I have left? Just as he fell back into despair, I slowly squatted down again. Like petting a dog, I patted Viper's cheek, whispering like a demon. Wanna live? Viper nodded frantically. Yes, more than anything. Very good. I leaned in close to his ear, slowly laying out a new plan that made his pupils contract violently. Listen carefully. Later, when the guards do morning rounds, you keep screaming. Scream as loud and as miserably as you can. Then tell them you tried to ambush me last night, but I fought back and you got hurt in an accident. What? Viper was stunned. Wouldn't that be helping Brad cover his tracks? He completely didn't understand, but I didn't give him time to think. My vice-like fingers suddenly squeezed his crippled joints. Searing pain swallowed his reason. I only say things once. My icy voice rang in his ears. When you get out, tell Brad your mission failed because I was prepared, and my strength is far beyond his imagination. Understand? Tortured to near unconsciousness, Viper could only nod frantically. He didn't dare not understand. He knew if he said half a word of no, his head would pop like a watermelon. Very good. I let go, satisfied. I looked down at the thoroughly broken dog at my feet. Why did I do this? The reason is simple. What I want isn't just to send Brad to prison. That's too cheap for him. I want fear. I want Brad to live every day in endless anxiety of a failed assassination. I want Viper, this pawn, to become a sword hanging over Brad's head, ready to take his life at any moment. First, destroy him psychologically. Then, use the most brutal, spectacular method to completely erase the Sterling family from this world. That is the style of Shadow. Soon, it was morning. As footsteps approached the cell, Viper took a deep breath, then used the acting skills of a lifetime to unleash a sky-tearing scream. Ah! My arm! My leg! Bong! The iron door was kicked open. Guards rushed in with batons, murderous. The hell are you screaming about so early? But when they saw the miserable state of the cell, their expressions froze. They stood rooted to the spot like they'd seen a ghost. The newcomer, Viper, was lying on the floor like a puddle of mud, his limbs twisted at horrifying angles, like he had been disassembled and put back together wrong. And on the other side, Arthur, the guy they thought would be a corpse by now, was sitting leisurely on his bed, slowly adjusting his uniform, as if everything happening had nothing to do with him. The lead guard stared at this worldview-shattering scene, his voice trembling. What the hell happened here? Just then, Baldy Craig, with his crippled arm, scrambled over, pointing righteously at Viper. Reporting to the officer, this new guy didn't know his place. Tried to ambush young Master Vance last night, but got counterattacked in an accident. What? The guards sucked in a breath of cold air. Looking at Arthur, their eyes no longer held mockery, only boundless terror and panic. Monster. This guy is a monster. In the end, they didn't dare say a word to Arthur. With dark faces, they dragged the screaming Viper out. The moment he was dragged out the door, Viper struggled to turn his head. He took one deep look at the goddemon-like man, no hatred in his eyes, only the awe and terror of looking at a deity. Meanwhile, at the Sterling villa, Brad, his eyes bloodshot, was pacing like a trapped beast, waiting for the massive good news that would elevate him to heaven. He even imagined today's headlines: Arthur Vance dead from sudden accident. Thinking about completely replacing me, a maniacal, sick smile appeared on his face. Just then, the black satellite phone on his nightstand rang sharply. Finally, Brad's heart hammered. He lunged at the phone like a starving wolf. His voice shook. Hello? Is it done? But the voice on the other end wasn't excited. It was the broker, panicking. Mr. Sterling, things changed. Things went wrong. Brad's smile froze. A bad premonition swallowed his excitement. Changed? What went wrong? The mission failed. The broker's voice carried a hint of a sob. Our guy messed up. Not only did he not kill Arthur, he got crippled by him. What? Those words struck Brad like a thunderbolt. He stood frozen, mind blank. Failed? How could he fail? He's Viper, a nationally wanted professional hitman. Going after a useless playboy? How could he fail? Trash! You're all a bunch of trash. After brief shock came sky-high rage. Brad grabbed a crystal ashtray like a mad lion and smashed it into the wall. It shattered. I paid $10 million for you to kill a piece of trash and you tell me you failed? The broker shakily explained. Mr. Sterling, calm down. It's really not our fault. Viper himself said it. Arthur isn't a playboy. Viper himself said it. Arthur isn't a playboy. He's a monster, a hidden, peerless master, a master. Brad almost laughed out loud from anger. Are you telling me a fantasy novel? Arthur is a master. If he's a master, then I'm the fucking Jade Emperor. But no matter how much he disbelieved it, failure was failure. His perfect plan was bankrupt. Just as his mind was a mess, an even more heart-stopping piece of news arrived. Bang! The bedroom door was shoved open. The butler crawled in, a look of doomsday panic on his face. Young master, bad news, huge news, our company's stock. It's crashing. What? Brad was struck by lightning. He pushed the butler aside and rushed to the living room. On the massive LCD screen, the scrolling ticker was crystal clear. Impacted by malicious short selling from Zenith Corporation, Sterling Group hits the limit down at the opening bell. $50 billion in market value evaporates overnight. Simultaneously, his private phone rang off the hook. All from subsidiary directors. Mr. Sterling, all collaborations with Zenith are terminated. Mr. Sterling, the banks are suddenly calling in our loans. Mr. Sterling, our biggest suppliers stopped shipments. They said Zenith gave the word. Piece after piece of terrible news hammered Brad's heart. He knew this was the Vance family's revenge. The thunderous wrath of the business empress, Victoria Vance. A destructive commercial storm had descended. Right then his father, Victor Sterling, walked slowly down the stairs, face cold as water. He didn't look at the TV. He just looked at his son with freezing disappointment. Slap! A crisp slap echoed. It struck Brad's face so hard he staggered and almost fell. Dad! Brad clutched his swollen cheek, eyes full of disbelief. It was the first time in his life he'd been hit. Useless trash! Victor looked at him, trembling with rage. I told you, if you do something, pull it out by the roots. Now look, you didn't kill him, you just startled the snake. You dragged our entire family into an bottomless abyss. Refusing to accept his father's harsh scolding, the impending doom of the company, and the massive fear of a failed assassination. Under all these pressures, Brad's sanity completely collapsed. His eyes went bloodshot. Only madness and obsession remained on his face. Right. The breakthrough point. The only breakthrough point I have left, Stella Fox. As long as he kept her mouth shut tight, as long as she stuck to her story that Arthur assaulted her, he still had a chance to flip the board. Dad! Brad snapped his head up, staring at his father with the eyes of a beast backed into a corner. The next second, he grabbed his car keys and bolted out the door, roaring madly as he ran. I can't wait, I have to go see Stella myself. I'll make sure she keeps her mouth shut. Outside the Metro City precinct, guarded airtight, dozens of media outlets with cameras had turned the place into a battlefield. Just half an hour ago, the legal Grim Reaper, Harvey Strong, abruptly announced a press conference regarding Arthur Vance's assault case. You have to understand, it had been over 24 hours since the incident. Both the Vance family and the police had been dead silent. This eerie silence made the media smell something unusual. But now Arthur's lawyer was taking the initiative to speak. This was definitely a signal that heavy artillery was about to fire. As all the reporters waited anxiously, a shout erupted from the crowd. He's here! Lawyer Strong is here! Instantly, all lenses turned in one direction. 3 black Mercedes S-Class sedans, with unquestionable presence, slowly stopped in front of the precinct. Car doors opened. Harvey Strong, in a crisp suit, stepped out under the escort of his elite team. The gaze behind his gold-rimmed glasses was suffocating. Click, click, click! Blinding flashes swallowed him. Lawyer Strong, is Arthur Vance innocent? Did the Vance family pressure you? Countless sharp, trap-filled questions surged like a tide, but Harvey just wore his trademark smile. He gently pressed his hands down, a simple gesture, but carrying an irresistible magic. It instantly silenced the boiling, almost out-of-control scene. All reporters instinctively shut up. He cleared his throat and stepped up to the microphone. His magnetic voice broadcasted live across the entire net. Media friends, good morning. I am Harvey Strong, Arthur Vance's legal representative. I know you all have many questions. A knife-like sharpness flashed in Harvey's eyes, but before answering your doubts, I'd like to invite everyone to watch a very interesting video. As he spoke, an assistant plugged a USB into a projector. The next second, a massive, high-def image was projected directly onto the precinct's solemn white wall. The image was the highly familiar hotel hallway from the case. The timestamp clearly showed it was 10 minutes before the police arrived on the night of the incident. All reporters made noises of confusion, but the next second, when they clearly saw the content, their expressions froze, replaced by shock from the depths of their souls. In the video, a group of their very own colleagues, reporters lugging cameras, were sneaking in through the staff entrance under the cover of security guards. They didn't knock, they didn't speak. Like trained hunters, they quietly ambushed the end of the hallway, as if waiting for a signal. The final scene of the video made the whole place explode. When the police rushed out of the elevator, The leading captain exchanged a knowing glance with the leader of the reporters. The scene completely blew up. All reporters were struck dumb as if hit by lightning. What did this video mean? It meant that before the police received the report, before the so-called assault happened, the media was already there. This wasn't news coverage. This was participating in a pre-rehearsed trap. In an instant, the tide of public opinion completely reversed. Everyone's focus shifted to a far more terrifying topic. This wasn't a simple criminal case. This was a conspiracy targeting Arthur Vance. A flawless frame-up. Harvey watched the scene, a planned successful smile on his face. He knew this was just the appetizer. He still held the more lethal evidence Arthur provided. So he decided to add fuel to the fire. Right on cue, a prearranged reporter raised his microphone. With a tone of shocked indignation, he threw out a question that would rock the entire Metro City police force. "Lawyer Strong, are you implying?" This question blew the roof off the place. Meanwhile, in the deputy chief's office on the 5th floor of the precinct, smash! A priceless teacup was violently hurled at a live stream monitor by a trembling hand. Boiling tea dripped down the shattered screen. Deputy Chief Lewis Miller's eyes were bloodshot, staring at the calm Harvey Strong on the screen. His face was purple as liver. Heavy, panting breaths escaped his throat. "It's over, it's all over." He never dreamed the Vance family's counterattack would come so fast, so venomous. He never expected them to break all the rules of the game, flipping the table directly and dragging the police down with them. Looking at the crazy reporters on screen, reading the tsunami of cursing comments on the live stream, Louis felt his vision go dark. A bone-piercing chill shot up his spine. He knew he had poked a massive hornet's nest. Ring, ring, ring! Just as he was in peak terror, the encrypted red phone on his desk rang. The ringtone was sharp as a death knell. Louis jumped. He looked at the flashing red light like looking at a summons from the Grim Reaper. He knew who was calling, and he knew what he was about to face. He shakily reached out, hesitating for a dozen seconds before finally picking up in resignation. "Hello? Secretary Lee." His voice was hoarse and servile, but waiting for him wasn't the usual comforting tone but a thunderous roar. "Louis Miller!" The voice from the other end was filled with endless rage, almost tearing his soul apart. "Are you a fucking pig? Look at the good deed you've done. The whole world is laughing at the Metro Police. Police colluding with media? Convicting before a trial? Louis, are you bored of sitting in that deputy chief chair?" "Secretary Lee, please listen to my explanation." Louis was scared out of his wits, stammering his defense. "I don't want to hear any of your bullshit. I'm giving you 24 hours. If you don't quell this storm, if you don't turn this into an ironclad case that no one can pick apart, pack your bags and go home to farm potatoes." Click. The phone was slammed down. Only the cold beep remained. Louis collapsed into his chair, soaked in cold sweat, as if pulled from a lake. Ironclad case. Quell the storm. Easy to say. Now the other side held all the evidence. Even the key witness, Stella Fox, was Maya. This case was rotten from the root. How could it be ironclad? This was mission impossible. But right at the moment of despair, Louis thought of his last straw, the Sterling family. Right, the Sterlings. They orchestrated this. They have to give me an explanation. He frantically pulled out his phone and dialed the number he knew by heart. Victor Sterling. It rang a long time before connecting. Victor's calm voice came through. "Louis, what's the matter?" His calm tone, as if this had nothing to do with him, instantly ignited all of Louis's panic and rage. "Victor, Chairman Sterling," Louis practically roared. "Are you playing dumb? Everything's gone to hell, don't you know? Harvey Strong sold us all out. I got a death order from the top. We're all finished." But facing Louis's hysteria, Victor just let out a soft chuckle. "Louis, you're too tense. The sky isn't falling. The sky isn't falling." Louis almost went mad with anger. "The fire is burning my eyebrows and you say the sky isn't falling. Your son caused this. You need to clean this up for me." The other end suddenly went silent. The silence made Louis's heart sink inch by inch. After a long while, Victor's freezing, emotionless voice finally sounded. The voice was full of the contempt of a superior looking at an inferior. "Deputy Chief, don't speak nonsense. What did my son cause? I don't understand. Arresting people and filing cases is police business. What does that have to do with the Sterling family? This is your mess. You clean it up yourself." Before Louis could say another word, Victor hung up decisively. Beep, beep, beep. Hearing the cold tone, Louis froze. He stood rooted like a statue. It took a full minute for him to react. He had been treated as an abandoned pawn, coldly discarded by the Sterlings. The rage of betrayal and the terror of falling into the abyss swallowed his reason. The madness of a desperate gambler appeared on his face. "An abandoned pawn? You think you can leave me to take the fall alone? Not that easy. You are unrighteous. Don't blame me for being ruthless." He slammed his fist on the desk, bloodshot eyes bursting with beastly light. He had to save himself. The only way was to force the center of the storm, Arthur Vance, to confess using the fastest, hardest methods before Lawyer Strong released more evidence. As long as he confessed, the case was set. Even if Harvey Strong had heaven-reaching skills, he'd be powerless. Thinking of this, Louis hit the intercom, roaring at his trembling subordinate. "Prepare a car. I'm going to see that brat myself." The freezing interrogation room. Same place, different person. It was no longer the female detective, but the beer-bellied, thug-faced deputy chief, Louis Miller. Bang! The moment he entered, he slammed a thick file onto the table, a massive sound trying to completely crush Arthur's aura. He sat down aggressively, bloodshot eyes glaring at Arthur. Arthur Vance. He squeezed the name through his teeth, his voice like a poisoned knife. But facing this textbook intimidation tactic, Arthur's face showed no ripple. He even smiled warmly at Lewis, as if facing an old friend instead of a mortal enemy. Deputy Chief Miller. Arthur took the initiative to greet him. Why so angry? Didn't sleep well last night? The light-hearted, mocking tone instantly deflated half of Lewis's accumulated momentum. Don't you fucking smile at me! Lewis exploded like a cat with its tail stepped on, slamming the table. Let me tell you, don't think getting a lawyer and holding a press conference can turn black into white. I'm putting it out there today. Witness, evidence, everything is complete. Your felony charge is set in stone. No one can overturn it. He spoke with absolute certainty, but the tremor at the end of his voice betrayed his inner panic. Who knew Arthur would keep smiling? He looked at the jumping clown before him like watching a tragedy whose ending was already written. He comfortably shifted his posture, raising an eyebrow. Is that so? Then what is Deputy Chief Miller doing here personally? Did you come specifically to deliver this good news? His rogue-like attitude made Louis want to cough up blood. He knew reasoning with this kind of person was useless. He needed a harsher method to grab him by the throat. Instantly, a sinister smile appeared on Lewis's face. He leaned forward, snake-like eyes locked onto Arthur, his voice extremely low. Arthur, I admit I underestimated you and your family. But don't forget, not everyone in your family has eyes reaching the heavens. He finally bared his lethal fangs. From what I know, your uncle is in the Southern Command, right? Your other uncle is in the West, right? And your cousin advancing quickly in politics. They're all system men. He paused, the threat obvious. Tell me, if an ironclad felon appears in their family, how will it affect their futures? Public opinion is a knife that kills without blood, young Master Vance. You wouldn't want to destroy the hard work of 2 generations of your family just for yourself, would you? This was his final trump card. He didn't believe this useless playboy wouldn't care about his family's future, but he was disappointed again. Hearing this lethal, carefully crafted threat, the smile on Arthur's face didn't change in the slightest. His deep eyes were as calm as water, even showing a hint of amusement, like looking at a dying bug that didn't know it was dead. Is the bug done talking? Arthur spoke abruptly. Louis froze. What? I said. Are your last words finished? Arthur's smile remained, but for some reason looking at that smile, a bone-piercing chill shot up from the bottom of Lewis's heart, making his hair stand on end. Who the fuck are you trying to scare? Louis yelled, strong on the outside, weak on the inside. Scare you? Arthur shook his head and slowly sat up straight. The next second, a knife-like sharpness flashed in his calm eyes. A terrifying, invisible aura erupted, instantly blanketing the interrogation room. Louis felt like he was being stared down by a primordial beast. The pressure from his soul made it hard to breathe. His heart raced. Right as his courage shattered, Arthur's voice, like a grim reaper passing sentence, slowly echoed. He didn't argue, he didn't threaten back, he simply stated a string of numbers. A string of numbers that made Lewis's blood freeze. Union Bank of Switzerland, anonymous account ending in 7788, account holder, Louis Chen, your forged foreign passport. Arthur's lips curled into a demonic arc. Just 3 days ago, this account received an anonymous transfer of $5 million. The source? A shell company in the Cayman Islands, and the majority shareholder behind that company. Arthur paused. Looking at the man whose face was completely drained of blood, trembling violently, he spat out the name that pushed Louis into the abyss, word by word. Is Chairman Victor Sterling. Boom! These words struck Lewis's head like divine lightning from the 9th heaven, shattering all his luck and prestige. All color left his face, pale as a corpse. He stood rooted like a statue, eyes wide with horror and disbelief. How did he know? This was his deepest secret. Not even his wife knew. Who the hell was he? How did he know so clearly? He looked at Arthur like looking at a ghost. His lips trembled, his throat making weird noises, wanting to say something but unable to form a complete sentence. Finally, using all his strength, he squeezed out a few words from his dry throat. Who the hell are you? Louis' roar echoed, but Arthur didn't answer him, just gave him the look reserved for a dead man. Then Arthur slowly stood up and walked toward the door, as if he had pronounced the death sentence for the man. Take me back, Arthur said flatly to the 2 shivering guards outside the door. Louis stumbled back to his office, soul crushed. He collapsed into his executive chair like a boneless pile of mud, brain empty. Arthur's death chant echoed in his ears. Swiss Bank, 788, 5 million. Victor Sterling. Every word was a red-hot iron hammer smashing his heart. Louis knew he was completely finished. His most fatal weakness was in the enemy's hands. He was meat on the chopping block, but he couldn't understand. How did that useless playboy know? Heaven knew, Earth knew, only he and Victor knew. How did he do it? Does the Vance family have the godlike power to check top-tier encrypted Swiss accounts at will? This wasn't power anymore. This was magic. Fear, endless fear, completely swallowed Louis' reason. He hadn't provoked a playboy. He had provoked a demon in human skin. Just as he was collapsing, the encrypted computer screens on his desk suddenly lit up. Ding! A crisp email notification echoed in the dead-silent office, eerie and ear-piercing. Louis jumped like a cat with its tail stepped on. He stared at the screen with a look of terror, like looking at Pandora's box. He didn't dare approach. Intuition screamed that the email contained something that would scatter his soul, but he had to look, because he knew this was likely the final death warrant the demon sent him. He moved forward, step by step, trembling. Each step felt like walking to the guillotine. Cold sweat beaded on his forehead. His shirt was soaked. Finally, he stood before the computer. He looked at the unread email, his heart hammering like it would burst from his chest. The subject was simple, a gift. The sender's name froze his heart. Ghost. Louis took a deep breath. With a hand trembling so hard he could barely hold the mouse, he clicked open the email. No words, just an attached zip file and a cold, deathly sentence. Deputy Chief, inside is the entirety of your winter for the past few years. Hope you like it. Louis's hand shook as he clicked to unzip. The next second, countless folders and files flooded his screen like a tide. Word docs, Excel sheets, audio, video, even high-res photos. Every file name stabbed his eyeballs like a poisoned blade. Complete evidence chain. Illegal land seizure in South District, resulting in 3 deaths. Bank flow records. Collusion with Sterling Group, embezzling $3.7 billion in public funds. The truth. Female college student loan shark suicide case 3 years ago, case by case. Crimes he thought were flawless were stripped naked and laid out before him. The evidence was so detailed: year, month, day, which nightclub he was in, how much money he took, what he said, all captured in high-def audio. Is this even human? This is the Grim Reaper's ledger. Louis couldn't hold on anymore. His legs gave out. Thud. He fell to the floor, face devoid of blood. His eyes, like dead fish, were filled with despair and numbness. He knew there was zero chance of turning this around. With this stuff, let alone being fired, shooting him 10 times wouldn't be enough. Just as all hope died and he was about to jump from the 5th floor, the final cold line in the email caught his eye. You have 24 hours to make the right choice. The right choice? What is the right choice? Right as Louis's brain was a mess, his private phone in his pocket suddenly rang without warning. The urgent ringtone was horrifying in the silent office. Louis jerked like he was electrocuted. He shakily pulled out his phone, an unknown number. But he knew who it was. He didn't dare not answer. He pressed accept and brought it to his ear. The next second, a voice he would never forget came through. Calm, but whispering like a demon. Deputy Chief Miller, have you thought it over? Meanwhile, in the suburbs of Metro City, inside a heavily guarded private villa, Stella Fox was like a canary trapped in a golden cage. She curled up on the sofa, panicked and anxious. In front of her was imported juice flown in globally. On the table, top-tier wine, but no joy on her face. Only fear stemming from her soul, because she knew she wasn't a free bird anymore. She was a prisoner. 2 days ago, she was brought here by Brad's men. Phone confiscated. All contact with the outside world cut. Men in black patrolled outside 24/7, protection in name, surveillance in reality. She was under house arrest. She didn't know what was happening outside, didn't know how Arthur was, didn't know the future of her and her family. The unknown was the most terrifying. Just as the fear was about to drive her mad, the villa door opened. Brad strode in, looking exhausted, eyes bloodshot, but with a hint of madness. Stella. He forced a smile uglier than crying, slumping next to her. He reached out to hug her. Stella reacted like a startled rabbit, dodging his hand. Brad's hand froze awkwardly midair. Viciousness flashed in his eyes, but he quickly covered it with a smile. He tried to sound gentle. Stella, don't be scared. I'm here to protect you. Protect? Stella smiled bitterly. Brad, drop the act. Are you protecting me or holding me hostage? Exposed humiliation and anger flashed across Brad's face, but he knew this woman was his last straw. He couldn't turn on her yet. He forcibly suppressed his anger, pulling a bankbook from his jacket and pushing it toward her, his voice full of lethal temptation. Stella, I know you've suffered. Just be a good girl and listen to me. Once this passes, he tapped the book. There's 10 million in here. I'll give you another 10 million later, 20 million. Enough for you to go abroad and live high society for the rest of your life. Looking at the massive sum, Stella's breathing grew heavy. Intense greed flashed in her eyes. Brad keenly caught it. He knew the fire was hot enough. Time for a threat. His face darkened instantly. Bloodshot eyes gleamed like a viper. He leaned close to her ear, lowering his voice like a demon from hell. Of course, if you don't listen. If you want to go out and talk nonsense, he laughed cruelly. Your parents' health isn't great back home, and your little brother in college. I can't guarantee they won't have an accident. Boom! The blatant threat was a bucket of ice water. It instantly extinguished Stella's last spark of resistance. Her body shook violently, her face drained of color. She knew a desperate man like Brad was capable of anything. She didn't dare bet, didn't dare gamble with her family's lives. Her lips trembled. Tears rolled down her beautiful eyes. Finally, like a flower ravaged by a storm, she weakly bowed her proud head. I know. I'll listen. That's a good girl. Seeing her thoroughly submit, Brad showed a victor's smile. He rudely patted her stubborn face like petting a tamed pet. Rest easy. Be good. And I guarantee you'll get everything you want. Done speaking, he stood up satisfied, laughing loudly as he left the gilded cage. Watching his arrogant back, Stella couldn't hold on anymore. She buried her face in the sofa, letting tears of despair and regret soak it. She knew she had fallen into a bottomless abyss, no turning back. But right when all hope died and she was ready to accept her fate, buzz. A faint phone vibration suddenly came from the sofa gap. Stella jumped. Her crying stopped instantly. Like a frightened rabbit, she glanced warily at the door. Confirming the guards weren't looking, she shakily reached into the gap and pulled something out. She never dreamed it would be her own phone. The private phone confiscated long ago was right here. And what was more unbelievable, the villa's signal was completely jammed. Yet, her screen showed full 5G bars, Wi-Fi connected too. What is going on? As her brain was a mess, an unknown number popped up with a message. As if possessed, she tapped it open with a trembling finger. No text, just an attached video file. Her heart hammered. A bad premonition covered her. She tremblingly clicked the video. The next second, her pupils shrank to their limits. It was the night of the incident. It was her, Stella Fox, taking the room key from the waiter, then walking gracefully to Arthur's door. Finally, taking the card and opening it herself. This was the complete, raw, high-def CCTV footage, and at the end of the video, a cold death warrant sentence was attached. Brad can give you 10 million. I can give you a way to survive. Make your choice. The icy words stabbed Stella's heart. In an instant, the last illusion in her heart shattered. A way to survive. These words were like black lightning tearing through the chaos, snapping her awake, cruelly awake. Was Brad's 20 million a way to survive? No, that was a guillotine, deadly poison. Stella wasn't a mere vase, she was calculating. But she actually had the illusion Brad would keep his promise, that she could take the money and fly high. But seeing the raw video of her entering the room, seeing this mysterious message that saw through everything, she completely woke up. A bone-deep chill shot up to her skull. She suddenly remembered Brad's distorted, vicious expression when he left. His murderous threat, she understood. In Brad's eyes, she wasn't an accomplice. She was a tool to be destroyed after use. A living witness who knew too many secrets. As long as she lived, she was a sword over his head. With his cruelty, how could he leave this loose end? He would kill her. He would definitely kill her family too, staging a clean, dead men tell no tales. Thinking of this, Stella's face turned white as paper. Her body shook with extreme terror. She didn't want to die. She was young. She absolutely couldn't die senselessly like this. And now this mysterious sender who could return her phone like a ghost, restore signals, and obtain deleted raw footage, gave her a second path. Her only path to survive. Her only straw to climb out of the abyss. Though she didn't know who he was or his purpose, she knew this was her last chance. Stella gripped the phone tightly, tears blurring her eyes. Finally, intense survival instinct crushed all fear and hesitation. A resolute, fierce look flashed in her eyes. She had made her choice. Meanwhile, Major Crimes Unit Office. Metro City Precinct. The air was suffocating. Chloe had led her team working non-stop for over 30 hours. Just then, tech lead Lee, sporting panda eyes, pointed at the massive city map, face excited. Captain! Through big data matching, we finally locked onto Brad Sterling's black Porsche 918. Chloe shot up from her chair, her bloodshot eyes bursting with terrifying light. Great job! Where's his track? Lee's fingers flew. A red trajectory appeared on the big screen. It went from the Villa District East, finally stopping at a desolate, abandoned estate area. This is, Chloe frowned. An older cop chimed in. This is Brad's private retreat, middle of nowhere, security tighter than our precinct. In a flash, all clues linked up, all speculations confirmed. Good, hiding in plain sight. Chloe sneered, a hunter's excitement in her eyes. Stella Fox is definitely hidden there. A young cop excitedly slapped the table. Captain, let's apply for a search warrant immediately. No, Chloe shook her head decisively. Face grave. Brad is too cunning. We can't get a warrant just based on vehicle tracks. If we startle the snake, he might do something desperate. Then what do we do? Everyone's heart sank. Watch helplessly? Right as the team hit a dead end, the encrypted phone in Chloe's pocket buzzed. She walked to a corner and opened it. The next second, her pupils shrank to their limits. A bone-deep chill shot from her feet to her skull. The hand holding the phone shook with extreme shock and fury. Captain, what's wrong? A subordinate noticed. Chloe didn't answer. She turned around, face filled with monstrous killing intent. She strode to the table and grabbed her service weapon. Click-clack. The crisp sound of racking the slide echoed in the office. She looked at her stunned team, voice freezing cold, issuing commands word by word. Everyone, full tactical gear, move out with me. A bold young cop asked, Captain, where are we going? The warrant hasn't. Fuck the warrant! Chloe snapped her head around, her beautiful eyes bloodshot. She slammed her phone on the table. The message displayed clearly. Brad is contacting the underworld. He's making a move on Stella Fox, Metro City Detention Center 1. I was sitting cross-legged on my bed, meditating like an old monk. The cell was dead silent. No one dared breathe. But beneath this eerie calm, a storm capable of turning the city upside down was being quietly ignited by my own hands. I wore a micro-wireless earpiece. Big Kev's excited voice was reporting in. Arthur, you're a fucking prophet. That female cop Chloe went totally crazy. Didn't even bother with a warrant. Just took a fully armed tactical team straight to the suburban villa. Looked like she was going to war. Bet that little shit Brad is feeling pretty high and mighty right now. Hearing his report, my lips curled up, everything in the palm of my hand. Yes, the intel that made Chloe explode. Ignoring dispatch protocols, I leaked it. Through Big Kev, I fed her half-truths that Brad was about to silence her mole. I calculated perfectly. With Chloe's absolute hatred for evil, knowing a witness's life was in danger, she'd never calmly follow protocol. She'd ignore everything and rush to save her, but this was only step one of my plan. Kev, I slowly opened my eyes. Inside them flashed the calm intellect of a chess master. Just the cops isn't enough. Big Kev was stunned. What do you mean? Not lively enough? My smile turned glacial. A good play can't just have heroes of justice. We need some party crashers. Done speaking, I hung up and connected another encrypted line. Ghost's fanatical, worshipful voice came through instantly. Boss, your most loyal ghost, awaiting commands anytime. My voice was flat. Remember that fierce business rival of Brad's I had you look up? Of course! Young Master Zhao of the Glory Group. Those two fight over land like cats and dogs. Very good. A fox-like cunning flashed in my eyes. Now I need you to do something. Use an absolutely secure, anonymous identity to send young Master Zhao a massive gift. A massive gift? Ghost was curious. My lips formed a demonic smile. Just tell him his sworn enemy, Brad Sterling, is hiding the trending starlet Stella Fox at his suburban villa. And most importantly, I paused, my voice lethally tempting. Tell him that the idiot Brad, to make his little play realistic, installed countless Ultra HD cameras in the villa, ready to film some premium R-rated scenes. What? Ghost instantly understood, letting out an excited gasp. Boss, this move is too wicked. If Zhao knows that, he'll bring an army to catch them in the act, won't he? I ignored his praise, ordering flatly. Remember, make it as big as possible. I want every media outlet in Metro City to know what a spectacular show Brad is putting on in that villa. Yes, boss. Mission guaranteed. This was my strategy. I didn't just want the cops to go save her. I wanted Brad's enemy to bring a horde of media to catch him in the act. I wanted these two waves of people to clash dramatically at the same time, same place. And then, completely stir up this heaven-shaking setup I orchestrated. I wanted Brad to face total ruin on live national broadcast. Setup complete. I slowly took out the earpiece, stretched my back as if I had just done something insignificant. I stepped off the bed, walked to Baldy Craig, who now treated me like a god. Craig rushed over like a hound. Boss, any orders? I gave him a bright, harmless smile. I reached out and gently patted his shiny, bald head. Then, under his extremely flattered gaze, using the tone of casual family chatter, I slowly spoke. Go tell the guards, say I'm not feeling well, I'd like to apply for medical bail. Meanwhile, Stella Fox was on ice. Brad can give you 10 million. I can give you a way to survive. Make your choice. That cold text from the unknown number was branded into her mind, keeping her tossing and turning all night. Two little people were fighting a war in her head. One screamed hoarsely, "Run! Brad is a demon! He'll kill you! Trust the mysterious person. He's your only way out." The other trembled with fear and despair. "You can't run! What about your family?" "Brad is a lunatic. He'll kill your parents and your brother to bury them with you." Fear, regret, survival instinct, anxiety for her family. Countless complex emotions gnawed at her like cold vipers. She felt like she was going crazy. Time ticked by. The night outside grew darker, like a boundless black net woven from despair, covering her and the villa. Right as she was about to be driven mad by this endless torture, click. A faint sound of a lock turning, barely audible, suddenly came from the floor-to-ceiling glass door leading to the backyard downstairs. Stella's body jumped. Her heart leaped into her throat. Who is it this late? Is Brad back? No, every time Brad came, he brought an entourage. Wishing the whole world knew. He'd never sneak in. If not him, then who? A horrifying thought froze her blood. Assassins. The assassins Brad sent to silence me. Impossible! She covered her mouth, body shaking violently from extreme terror. Tears poured from her eyes. She was wrong. She was so terribly wrong. She thought Brad would at least wait until the dust settled. She never expected him to be so vicious, so impatient, not even waiting a single day. Right as she fell into total despair, bang! A deafening gunshot suddenly erupted outside the villa, tearing through the dead silence of the suburban night. Then bong bong, dense gunfire like popping beans mixed with the angry panicked roars of men intertwined. A brutal firefight suddenly broke out outside the usually quiet villa. Freeze, Polis! Hearing this, Stella froze. She scrambled to the second-floor window, carefully pulling back the curtain to look outside. The next second, she saw a scene she'd never forget, like a blockbuster movie. Outside the villa, dozens of police cruisers with flashing lights had arrived out of nowhere. Hundreds of fully armed tactical officers with riot shields and submachine guns had surrounded the place like an iron bucket. Inside their perimeter, several assassins in black who had just sneaked into the backyard were engaged in a fierce firefight with the cops. But what was even more unbelievable, outside the police perimeter were dozens of news vans with logos of major media outlets. Countless reporters lugging cameras hid behind police cars, hyped up like they'd been injected with adrenaline, live streaming the scene. What the hell is happening? Cops, assassins, reporters, three completely unrelated groups. How did they all dramatically meet at the exact same time and place? Stella's brain was chaos. But even if she didn't understand, her female sixth sense screamed at her. This is your chance, the only chance to escape this vortex of death. Smash! A stray bullet flew from nowhere, hitting the window next to her. The bulletproof glass spiderwebbed. Stella screamed, scrambling to hide under the bed. Chaos. Unprecedented doomsday chaos. Gunfire, shouting sirens, the excited roars of reporters. It felt like the roof of the villa would flip off. Amidst this apocalyptic chaos, Stella's blank brain suddenly remembered that mysterious text. The final death warrant sentence. I can give you a way to survive. Right. A way to survive. I want to live. An unprecedentedly fierce desire to live crushed all fear and hesitation. She had no more doubts. She crawled out from under the bed, grabbed the lifesaver phone she threw on the floor. Trembling, she unlocked it and dialed the number she knew by heart but never thought she'd willingly call. 911. It connected almost instantly. The calm voice of a female dispatcher came through. 911. What is your emergency? Hearing the voice representing justice and hope, Stella's nerve strings, taut to the limit, finally snapped. She couldn't hold it back anymore. Using her last bit of strength, she let out a heart-tearing wail, full of endless regret and terror, into the phone. Help, I am Stella Fox. I want to turn myself in. Brad Sterling instigated me to frame Arthur Vance. That heart-tearing wail, full of regret and terror, traveled through the tiny phone and also through the live streams of countless media outlets on the scene. In an instant, it detonated like a billion-ton nuclear bomb across the Empire's entire internet, sparking an unprecedented tsunami. It exploded, completely exploded. If the ambush video Harvey Strong released earlier only made the public doubt the case's fairness, now the key witness herself, the supposed victim, personally confessing to the public, was like an unbreakable divine hammer, smashing the skulls of anyone still holding on to illusions, smashing all guesses, all luck, all conspiracy theories to dust. A reversal, an earth-shattering, epic reversal. The entire Empire's internet fell into unprecedented madness and paralysis. Weibo's top 10 trending spots, no, top 20, were entirely dominated by shocking keywords related to the case. Stella Fox confesses. Brad Sterling framed Arthur, Metro City Playboy framed. Brad Sterling hires hitman. Every keyword had a blood-red, explosive tag next to it, enough to make any trending star go mad with jealousy. Countless netizens poured out from every corner of the web. They shared and commented frantically, venting their towering rage at being deceived. Holy shit! Holy shit! I knew something was wrong! I said it. The Vance heir can have any woman he wants. Why would he assault a third-rate star? Too dark. No law and order. Execute Brad. And that corrupt cop, Louis Miller. Investigate him to the end. Heartbroken for my bro Arthur, suffering in there for nothing. Public opinion reversed completely. The keyboard warriors who previously cursed Arthur, wanting to eat him alive, now turned their guns. Towering rage, enough to tear someone apart, aimed straight at the Sterling father and son, and their umbrella, Louis Miller. And the final straw that broke the camel's back quietly descended. The official Weibo account of the Metro City Police, after 36 hours of silence, finally posted their second official statement. This statement shut up any remaining onlookers. Not only did they publish Stella's detailed 10,000-word confession, but they attached a series of lethal ironclad evidence. From photos of Brad's $5 million transfer to Stella, to the unedited CCTV footage provided by a mysterious righteous citizen, showing Stella swiping the keycard herself. Even the confessions of the professional assassins caught at the scene, case by case, like a red-hot hammer of justice, smashing into the rotting corpse of the Sterling family's crimes, smashing all their excuses to powder. The truth was completely laid bare before the world. Metro City, even the whole empire, was deeply shaken. Countless phone calls flooded the city government and precinct. Passionate citizens spontaneously gathered outside the precinct, holding banners demanding severe punishment for the culprits and justice for Arthur. Public opinion was a mountain. The people's anger was a fire. This overwhelming pressure, enough to make any official's heart quake, heavily pressed on the entire Metro City police force. Finally, the mountain couldn't hold. Under the tsunami of public pressure, the highest leader of Metro City, Secretary Lee, personally made a furious, thunderous call to the head of the police department, Chief Wang. In the call, Secretary Lee only said one sentence, a sentence that made Chief Wang fall out of his chair. Old Wang, I don't care what method you use. Within half an hour, I want to see the young master of the Vance family walk out the front doors of your precinct completely unharmed. If not, you and that bastard Louis Miller can pack your bags and get the hell out. Click. Chief Wang sat on the floor, shell-shocked. It took a full minute for him to get up like a totally enraged lion. He grabbed the intercom on his desk, his towering rage almost shattering the receiver. Notify everyone, major crimes, side SWAT, everyone get your asses to the detention center right fucking now. Invite Mr. Arthur Vance out with the utmost respect. He paused, remembering something, and added a humiliating but necessary command, one that made the entire police force lose all face. Also, prepare an official apology. I will personally, publicly apologize to Mr. Arthur Vance. Metro City Detention Center 1. The heavy, rusting, cold iron doors, under the gaze of countless camera lenses, let out a dull, tooth-aching creak, then slowly opened inward, like an era curtain falling, and a new era belonging to a king rising. Time seemed paused. In this moment, hundreds of reporters held their breath instinctively. Their fingers pressed tight on the shutter buttons, staring unblinking at the widening gap, terrified of missing a historic moment for the Empire's annual news. Finally, under the watch of thousands, a figure slowly walked out from behind those gloomy, oppressive iron doors. He was no longer wearing the faded gray prison uniform. He had changed into a bespoke, tailored black suit, a crisp white shirt without a single wrinkle, the top two buttons casually undone, revealing a patch of bronze chest, a handsome face that would make any trending star dim in comparison. No wild joy of newfound freedom, no anger or grievance of being framed for dozens of hours, only a calmness, seemingly born in his bones, calm as a waveless abyss. He just walked out quietly, into the blinding sunlight of hope, and into the sea of flashes ready to swallow him. Click, 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 click! After 3 seconds of silence, the scene exploded, more frantic snapping than ever before, trying to freeze time and space. Arthur Vance, he's out, the man who churned up the entire city in less than 2 short days, the one playboy, the center of the storm, cursed by countless, pitied by countless, finally returned with the posture of a king. Mr. Vance, what are your thoughts on this wrongful arrest? Mr. Vance! Regarding the Sterling family framing you, how do you hope the law punishes them? Mr. Vance, what is the first thing you want to do right now? Like sharks smelling blood, reporters surged forward, surrounding him instantly, a tide of sharp, trap-filled, leading questions. If this were the old Arthur facing such a massive scene, he might have panicked or arrogantly called bodyguards to clear the way. But the Arthur now just stood there quietly. He didn't even furrow a brow. He slowly raised his hand and pressed down gently, a simple gesture. But carrying an irresistible magic, it instantly silenced the boiling, out-of-control scene. All reporters shut their mouths instinctively. Their eyes locked onto this young man who seemed completely reborn, like a different person, waiting for the first declaration of the returned king. Arthur's calm gaze swept over every face present. In those deep, starry eyes there were no ripples. Finally, he spoke slowly. His voice wasn't loud, but through the microphones it broadcast clearly across the scene and the empire. I trust the laws of the empire will give me a just verdict. After saying that, he didn't utter another word. Under the shocked, disbelieving eyes of everyone, he walked straight through the crowd. The reporters instinctively made a path, like welcoming a monarch inspecting his territory. Arthur was too different, completely different from the arrogant playboy in the rumors. Two different people, that elegant, fearless demeanor, that powerful aura controlling the entire scene. Let alone a 22-year-old, even old foxes with decades in politics and business fell far short. While everyone was still immersed in the massive shock of Arthur's transformation, a synchronized, beast-like roar of engines suddenly came from afar. Everyone turned to look. The next second their pupils shrank. At the end of the street, a terrifying convoy of 10 black Rolls-Royce Phantoms and 10 massive Mercedes SUVs, luxurious enough to drive anyone crazy, was approaching the detention center with unquestionable dominance. The license plate of the lead car was even more shocking. 888888. The exclusive plate of the Empire's business empress Victoria Vance. Beside the convoy, Big Kev, wearing his flashy pink suit and half-face sunglasses, was chomping on an expensive Cuban cigar. Behind him were over 100 men in black suits, arms tattooed with dragons and tigers, looking fierce. They split into 2 rows and bowed 90 degrees simultaneously. The spectacle was more dramatic than a movie shoot. The convoy stopped steadily in front of Arthur. The rear door of the lead Rolls-Royce was respectfully opened by a silver-haired butler in a tailcoat. Without hesitation, under the envious, jealous, and awestruck gazes of the crowd, Arthur bent down and got in. The door closed slowly, isolating all noise. Inside the car, thick, pure wool carpets, the air filled with a faint, refreshing scent. Arthur comfortably leaned back into the soft leather seats. He didn't savor the joy of freedom, nor did he think about how to celebrate. He just slowly took a clean crystal glass from the car's wine cabinet. Then, he picked up a brand new satellite phone prepared for him. He dialed a number he knew by heart. His mother, Victoria Vance. It connected instantly. Victoria's slightly tired, but endlessly loving and concerned voice came through. Arthur, are you out? You've suffered. But Arthur didn't act like a normal son, acting spoiled or reporting his safety. He interrupted her, his deep eyes flashing with the cold, bloodthirsty light of a hunter. He asked a question that stunned Victoria. Mom, what is the Sterling Group's current stock price? When Arthur's calm yet endlessly cold, murderous voice reached Victoria's ears, the business empress, who had weathered half a lifetime of storms, felt her heart skip a beat. She froze for a few seconds before recovering from the massive shock of her son's transformation. Slowly, her lips curled into a smile of immense comfort and boundless domineering pride. This is the son of Victoria Vance. This is the Keelan child of the Vance family. Vengeance must be exacted, and it must be done using the most ruthless, satisfying method. Pay back 10 times, 100 times over. Arthur, Victoria's voice lost all fatigue and worry, replaced by the ease and confidence of a queen ruling the world. The Sterling Group stock is currently at $37.8, but Mom guarantees, in half an hour it will only be $1. She hung up. Then she pressed the red button on her desk, the button representing the highest command. Notify everyone. She issued a freezing command to the secretary rushing in, one that would turn the Empire's business world upside down. Initiate the Thanos plan starting today. I want the Sterling Group completely erased from the map of the Empire. Meanwhile, deadly silence in the Sterling Villa living room. The air was so suffocating it practically dripped water. Victor Sterling, this man usually so steady, confident, and ambitious, seemed to age 20 years in an instant. He collapsed onto the expensive Italian sofa, soul-crushed. His eyes, once full of shrewdness and cruelty, now held only the ashes of despair. On the massive LCD screen in front of him, a clip replayed that tore his heart out. His son, his only heir, his greatest hope, Brad Sterling. handcuffed with cold steel, chased by blinding flashes, escorted by 2 SWAT officers with live ammo into a police van. Like livestock, pathetic beyond words, and the scrolling red ticker at the bottom of the screen was like poisoned blades stabbing his heart. Bricking. Sterling Group Heir Brad formally arrested for malicious framing, attempted murder, and multiple other charges. Fake! It's all fake! Victor mumbled, lost. He didn't want to believe, didn't dare to believe everything before his eyes. The perfect trap he meticulously planned, enough to elevate the Sterling family in one step, collapsed completely in less than 2 days, and lost so miserably, so thoroughly. But the cruel reality wouldn't change just because he didn't believe it. Right as he was drowning in the massive blow of his son's arrest, the Vance family's thunderous revenge quietly descended. Ring, ring, ring! The encrypted corporate phone in the living room suddenly shrieked. A sharp, urgent death knell. Victor jumped. He mechanically turned his head, looking at the flashing red light. A bad premonition covered his entire body. He shakily reached out and pressed speakerphone. Hello? His voice was hoarse, nothing like a chairman. It's bad! A doomsday roar came from the other end. Our stock is done for, the Zenith Corporation. It's them. They've gone mad. They rallied dozens of top domestic and foreign investment funds. They're dumping our stock at any price, shorting us. Our stock crashed. Total collapse. Just 10 minutes after the opening bell, we hit the limit down 3 times. Chairman, if we don't think of something, we'll be forced into bankruptcy tomorrow. Boom! This was black lightning from the 9th heaven striking Victor's already frail nerves. This was financial revenge. The ultimate, most brutal financial hunt. Victoria Vance was using what she did best, and most domineeringly, to wipe the business empire he spent half his life building off the capital market. But this was only the beginning. Right as his heart quaked over the company's impending doom, bang! The villa door was kicked open from the outside. Big Kev, in his flashy pink suit, a Cuban cigar in his mouth, swaggered in aggressively with dozens of fierce men in black. Behind him, a horde of reporters who got the tip-off rushed in with cameras. Who are you? The Sterling butler trembled, trying to stop them. Big Kev didn't even look at him, he just spat one word. Scram. 2 guards stepped up, tossing the butler aside like a chick. Big Kev walked straight up to the stunned Victor. He blew a thick cloud of smoke right into Victor's paper-white face. Then, he pulled a thick file from his jacket and smashed it into Victor's face. Hey Sterling! Big Kev showed a cruel, demonic smile. Open your dog eyes and look closely. This is all the evidence of your tax evasion, government collusion, forced evictions, and murders over the years. My brother is merciful. He's going to use the law to play with you. Me? I don't have that kind of patience. I like an eye for an eye. Blood for blood. He ignored the completely terrified broken man. He turned to the reporters, laughing loudly. Everyone, shoot whatever you want. Ask whatever you want. Drinks are on me today. It took only 3 days. Or rather, a mere 3 days. A massive business empire, once valued at $1 trillion, a new money family that once called the shots in Metro City, under the Vance family's thunderous strikes, completely collapsed into dust. The Sterling Group's stock nosedived, ultimately becoming worthless scrap paper. Declared bankrupt, liquidated. All the Sterling family's dark secrets were exposed online. A towering tsunami. Awaiting them was the severe punishment of the law and the contempt of the people. The Sterling family was finished, completely finished. That afternoon, the sunset was the color of blood. Outside the massive bronze gates hidden deep in the forest of the Vance estate, a figure, whose hair had turned completely white in just 3 short days, fell heavily to his knees on the cold stone floor. Thud. It was Victor Sterling. Like a stray dog, losing all his spine, using the last bit of his strength, he kowtowed toward the towering gates representing supreme power. Bang! 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 That once incredibly arrogant forehead was quickly smashed, bloody and bruised. Master Vance, I was wrong. I truly know I was wrong. Please have mercy. Leave our family a way to survive. His tear-soaked, desperate begging was tragic, like a cuckoo weeping blood. But those heavy, freezing bronze gates never opened for him, not even a single crack.